Welcome to the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through the movies, TV, and entertainment that people just can't cut away from. This week in movies, we have a brand new Godzilla that's coming out that actually has a lower budget than most Marvel movies, hell, even TV episodes, even some Blumhouse movies that are out there. We also have the epic biopic on Napoleon, the man who conquered most of the world. And then
Bonaparte.
it's just a 2 hour movie calling him an idiot. Of course, we also have the Gothams breaking down and highlighting all of the independent movies that are
Yes.
out there, like Past Lives, showing up, and Barbie for whatever reason. All of that and more here on the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut. As always, I'm your co-host Arturo Surita, and joining me, not here to break his soul, it's Zachary Shevich. I had
What's
another one, but
going
it was
on,
fresh
man?
in my mind.
Yeah, what's going on, dude? If you're watching the live stream, I'm not on my usual set, obviously. Doing
Ooh.
some traveling throughout America, at least through the East Coast. I'm down in Florida, which it's not the first time I've done this live stream from here, but I don't know how
We recognize
you.
the blinds.
There you go. I don't know how you are in terms of like feeling prepared before you leave for trips. Like, do you if always worry you're leaving something behind, or are you pretty good at packing for trips?
I overpack.
You overpack? See, like I'm an overpacker too. Like I'm always bringing like a huge suitcase for like an unnecessarily short trip.
What are you worried
And
about?
well, I mean, clearly it didn't work that well. I forgot my
Oh,
mic
oh.
stand. I forgot my razor. I'm in Florida. I didn't even pack more than one pair of shorts. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, I barely found my razor, as you can see right here, looking like a naked mole rat. But I will say, I never forget the mic stuff because I feel like I pack that if I like go to the theater. I feel
Right.
like I've been so used to just packing that, but uh, it's working. It's good. He's got the
Yeah.
stock
No,
there.
no, look, I got a crooner, I got a crooner vibe. I'm just gonna go handheld for the whole podcast.
The family know not to enter the room at the moment
Yeah.
because the stock's on the mic. But hey, we're still here catching up since it's been 2 weeks since good old Thanksgiving. You know, we had some Good Burger movies come out. Got the holdovers now on DVD, Blu-ray,
Yeah.
whatever it is that's out there. Did you have any Black Friday pickups? I don't know if you remember this. Black Friday used to be a holiday.
Mhm.
It preceded or it was post Thanksgiving where people would go actually collect things, games, whatever else. We would always usually have a haul back in the day on our DVDs or Blu-rays.
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
have anything?
nothing from this year. I mean, I don't know if the deals just weren't there, or if Criterion just did their usual thing early, but
A little bit.
nothing stood out to me. I got one thing that I'm looking forward to, although it seems like it's hard to find that Oppenheimer 4K in a lot of stores right now.
Which one are you leaning to the most? Because there's a Best Buy one. There's that
Well, you
Walmart one that opens up that looks crazy.
you tell me, because you're normally the expert on the physical releases. I mean, Best Buy I know is getting out of the game right and before this like massive drop comes out.
Exodus and
But
everything.
is the Walmart one the one to go with, you think?
I think because of the way that it opens, it's got multiple discs and it opens up to have this like super wide of the court scene. It looks beautiful. It's one of those where it's like even if you end up with the steelbook, as I always would, you know, we have a new Godzilla versus Kong thing that came out, and I went to go
Right.
look for my book, and I'm like, oh yeah, Best Buy always kills it when it comes to this stuff. But that Walmart one would be one to add to the bunch. I think you had gotten your Walmart exclusive of Googly Eyes,
Yeah, was that the
right?
Walmart one? Yeah,
I
the
found
the everything everyone all at once. I think I got that here last time I was in Florida.
There you go. So
Actually,
maybe you might have a store that'll have the Oppenheimer one
yeah.
because sometimes Walmart has been coming in. I feel like they haven't. I mean, they've reduced it, but I don't think they've gone the Best Buy way where they're ready to get rid of it all. And I don't know. I feel like shout out to a lot of the Blu-ray collectors, 4K collectors out there. Blu-ray Dan, I know was a big one. He was showing a bunch of really cool stuff. There's this Talk to Me one that's coming out, but it's online, and
Mm.
it seems like that's going to be the new thing. You don't get to hold it anymore. People like Durant Cinema, I know he still collects stuff, but he's been showcasing how it's been dwindling. You're gonna have to like see them order it online so they can show you what it looks like, and then it's gonna be these exclusives like that one for Talk to Me that comes with the hand. There's like a WandaVision one comes with a disc actually now, and it comes with like a radio and whatever else. Like,
Ooh.
there's some really cool breakdowns. Like, they're not reducing the physical media completely; they're just reducing the department stores that are selling them. So it is going to dwindle down in that sense, but hopefully you find them, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like there is a whole like collector culture, and especially like lots of audiences are getting excited about these auteur driven movies, that I feel like there's gonna be this resurgence of
Has
the
to be.
physical media stuff,
Has to.
but simultaneously Best Buy is getting rid of them. And so I don't know, maybe they're going to reverse that decision eventually, but
We'll go to
um
Goodbye
yeah.
instead. There'll be another store that'll come in. Yeah,
Yeah,
something else.
somebody's going to fill that void, right?
Yeah, but we're curious. Let us know your thoughts down below. What y'all did for the Thanksgiving weekend. What movies you saw. What movies you maybe collected as well. I can see. Shout out to the chat for those watching. Josh is talking about they have thousands of Oppenheimer ones, I believe,
Where he
over in the
works, I
UK.
think.
So
Yeah.
if you got a region free player segment, we can get
Yeah.
a couple.
Maybe cheaper than buying a copy off eBay. We'll just like take a flight to England.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But let us know your thoughts down below in the comments section, your stories for the holidays, as we get into our movies for the week. Starting off with the one and only Godzilla.
Yeah.
Oh, Zach already knows that when it came down to Godzilla versus Kong, I had my money on there. I opened up the sports bet. I went all in. I didn't care what the odds were. I have always been Team Godzilla since the 90s, because that's when I was born. I have never wavered in it. And I am eating right now, Zach, with Godzilla Minus One out in theaters, with Monarch, the MonsterVerse incredible series that's out on Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
And then with the new trailer to Godzilla, it's not even V Kong anymore, Godzilla by Kong, where they now made my man pink.
He's fluorescent. He's got bi lighting going on.
Bro, it is a great time to be a Godzilla fan, and Godzilla Minus One is the newest one that comes from Toho. I've heard people go overseas to Japan to watch this one with no subtitles. I found a really nice theater to go see it too. I wasn't able to go to the Dolby one because I heard that they weren't really giving out posters. Some people were getting posters, others weren't. I would love a poster. There's a sick shirt with this logo. It's a long sleeve. It looks nasty, bro. I need one of those if anybody knows where that link is. But this is the newest movie that reportedly cost $15 million. I've heard some people push back on that.
Yeah. I heard the same things too, because like it's money doesn't translate quite so easily. And we have, obviously we've talked a lot about how VFX houses are overworked here in America, working on a lot of the Marvel movies, and a lot of them are non-union, so they don't get paid as well. I've heard those things are like far, far worse in Japan's VFX industry. I actually wanted to just do a quick shout out to an episode of the Big Picture podcast where they brought on Alex Ross Perry for an interview. Alex Ross Perry, a filmmaker that you and I like a lot. His stuff has been like Her Smell. Yeah, lots of like A24 or IFC Films level movies. And he's talked about how like he's been offered to direct certain movies in Eastern Europe, but he feels uncomfortable because a lot of the crew there basically is working on like slave wages. So when you look at a movie like Dune that shot in Eastern Europe, and people talk about how the budget is so much smaller than your average action blockbuster, it might not be for the reasons you like. But granted, like 15 million is still like a crazy impressive number, given that this movie looks at the very least better than any Marvel movie we got this year, I think.
And also has a much better story when it comes down to things like this, because this is a movie where we always see these MonsterVerse films and we say, get rid of the characters. Like, I don't need the humans. I just want the monsters. Then, sometimes you get the monsters and people are like, can we get something that's not a CGI fest? I think this kind of has a middle ground there. And while I did find the acting to be a little melodramatic, I don't know
very
how you
shouty.
felt about it. I mean, there are some moments. I think the ending's a little cheesy at points as well. There's a lot of just like, like a telenovela, almost like, I have to do this for my country.
Yeah.
It was, at least for my theater, it was pulling at a lot of people's heartstrings. At least you get a lot more invested in them than you would. What's our boy Paperboy playing the conspiracy podcast guy?
Tyree Henry.
Yeah,
exactly. Podcasters as our audience surrogates. I don't know.
They were all better than Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, the characters, even if they're maybe a bit broadly sketched, are interesting, right? Like these are people who are contending with Japan after the end of World War II and living in a country that's sort of trying to build itself back up and pull itself together. And I think that is a much more interesting way to tell the story,
Yeah.
particularly given that like the thematic meaning of Godzilla in the first place is supposed to be kind of a metaphor for the American military or for the nuclear bomb, depending on its perspective in the films.
Yeah.
I think the Japanese tellings of the Godzilla story tend to like be much stronger in terms
More
of that
profound.
representative quality. Yeah, and it gets to a deeper level. So for me, like that stuff worked way better than in any American Godzilla movie I can recall.
Even the 90s one?
I mean, I love Matthew Broderick because this is the next guy, but
Oh man, I would say one of the biggest things here is that storyline that you're talking about when it comes to Japan, because our main guy is a kamikaze pilot, and like he
which,
gets
by the
shunned.
way, crazy, subversive, and daring that movies that the hero is a kamikaze pilot is playing on 2,000 screens in America. I love that.
And the balls also for this to come from Japan, because
Yeah,
it is kind of breaking down, the way that like you were saying, post-war, the way that they're critiquing the country is saying like none of our stuff was really prepared for this war, but then it's also how they prepare the people. There are multiple scenes in here where everybody's like mindset after the war is that if you're a kamikaze pilot, and even not, you need to sacrifice your life no matter what. It started I went back to like Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, that's why he's got a freaking movie called To Live. Like,
Yeah.
it's this entire ideology that you were supposed to sacrifice yourself for the country, and this idea of being able to live a life. What wasn't a thing that they were raised to have, a mentality that they were raised to have, and the movie's kind of questioning it. Maybe a little 2023-ish to have in the time period right after the war, but it's willing to have those discussions. And I don't want to call it pro-life because it's not pro-life, but when it's almost anti-suicide, what would that phrasing be? Because that was the one part with the main character storyline that I found.
His will it survivalist, maybe
survivalist, yeah. Especially because he almost has a makeshift family that you see that they're gathering as they have these reoccurring attacks from Godzilla. And again, while I thought it was melodramatic at some points, I did kind of connect with it. There was one actress in here. I looked at her for a little bit, and I was wondering, why they played the monster trailer before, and I didn't want to make any assumptions. Bro, it's our girl who's been in all the Koreeda movies.
Yeah. I mean, why they always got my girl taking care of children that aren't hers, shoplifting this.
That is literally everything that they ever do. Yeah. If you have not seen Mother or Monster and you don't have it on your radar, please put it on your radar. She mops it in that movie. To me, she is a top 10 contender for supporting. You would argue she's supporting Monster?
Yeah, for sure.
Easily. I think she steals the scenes in that film. I know it's getting a limited release right now. Definitely check out that film. There was a trailer that played right before Godzilla, and it made sense to me because she's in this movie. And I thought she did a really good job as a mother who lost her children because, as she puts it, you're the kamikaze pilot. You should have killed yourself. Even if you weren't going to win the war, it's not going to change the outcome.
Right.
It was your job to go. And I think the way the movie handles that in the second half, when it's really questioning its country, was an interesting perspective. We're talking about the budget. I agree with you. You're now making me rethink every time that Netflix is filming things over in Belarus.
Right.
They're getting it on the cheap. I thought the effects were effective. There were a lot of moments where if you pause it a little bit, you're like, okay, that's like a paper mache. That's like a toy. But then they move really quickly. So you're not really like taking the time, at least on a first watch, to really observe when it's a little shoddy. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the effective is probably the right word there, because I like that this is a movie that doesn't hide the monster or really try to like obfuscate it. Like, you get to see the action, and like, yeah, sometimes it looks a little bit like corny in terms of its movement or whatever, but it's always communicative and it never looks bad. It just maybe looks a little bit B movie in certain points, but if it's a B movie, it's also like a great B movie.
And, coming from the king of the B movies, like, people keep forgetting that we were talking about that split between America and Japan. Japan still had their poppiness. Like, they're the ones who have Godzilla doing like a 90-degree kick on Mothra. Like, there's so much B movie greatness that came from the Godzilla franchise. So when I see it here, I actually think it works because it looks so off kiltered. It almost adds to the scariness of this version of Godzilla who just doesn't give a damn. I also really like the second half buildup into how all of the soldiers come together to be able to take it down. I thought it really made sense to have a scientist who wasn't just like the nerd in the background. They were actively throughout the movie when they were like getting rid of bombs, because that's like the main guy's job after the war. And then he comes in with what, honestly, I was sitting there paying attention, like that is actually a pretty good idea on how to take out Godzilla in this period in the 40s. That kind of makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a rare Godzilla movie where when they're actually trying to figure out how to defeat Godzilla, like it actually kind of makes sense. It reminded me a lot of Jaws, not just in that sequence, but
Yes.
the way that they have the town meeting, and what's his name scratches the nails on the chalkboard, and they're all figuring out how to take down this creature. They even borrow the whole like putting an
Holding on
explosive in its mouth, and but
it
like
was
that's
good.
really effective stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part of it. So overall, I would recommend Godzilla Minus One. Again, I don't think it is a perfect Godzilla movie, but for the Godzilla fans out there, this is one of the best that's come out. And I think for even non-Godzilla fans, I think this is something that they could go to and not see as a complete CGI fest. But do be warned, I think the ending is a cop-out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about it.
It does this thing where it kind of lingers on a sad idea long enough for you to accept it as a reality, and then it takes it back. And I just wish that more stories that did that would just kind of stick to their guns, right? Like, you've already pulled on our emotions in that way. Just stick with your gut instinct or whatever. Everything doesn't have to resolve perfectly.
And you already had a relationship with the mechanic from earlier. I thought the way they resolved that was really good, and what was leading to the child character in here. But you actually, when you see the child character in that scene, if you get the chance to rewatch it, it is the funniest thing, because the child character was not let in on what was happening, and they're just like watching the performances. It's really funny because they go really in on it when it comes to the drama. But again, that'd just be my critique for it. But
I just want to ask you though, because you are the bigger Godzilla fan among the two of us. I saw a lot of people saying like this might be the best Godzilla since the original. You don't seem like you're ready to go there.
Oh, no. I think it's like top. It clears 10. It may even clear 5. I'm just saying that what this does right and what it falters in, there are other movies that do it vice versa. So it's like I wouldn't put it at the top, but I would put it in the top tier of Godzilla movies. I'm not denying that at all. But I know a lot of people have been of people have been going straight to going number 1, and I do worry it's a little bit of a recency bias, because I'm sure if you go search all those people, you can see that in Shin Godzilla, in Godzilla versus Kong, and even in the 2014 Godzilla, they're probably also telling you day one that's the best Godzilla, nothing's beat it. So I'm just trying to not get the recency bias in there, but no, it is a top tier Godzilla movie for sure.
What do you think of the Godzilla X Kong trailer?
We're gonna talk about it, baby. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, man. They're running.
Oh,
they're moving
goodness.
somewhere.
Look, you and I always talk about this, where we see the discussions on the discussions that end up just becoming like pile-on. And it's interesting that everybody now cares about the weight of these characters. That went out the window like 2 movies ago. You guys are just repeating what everybody else is saying. I'm gonna start with the colors. Oh my goodness, I am so happy that we are kind of leaving what was, I thought, already peaked at Mad Max Fury Road with the orange and the blues. This peaked it as well. It was a very stylistic movie with the orange and the blues. It was still very, very nice. But now we're heading into this new area where we got pinks and lighter blues. It's almost like this synth wave movement that we've got going on right now that's pushing a lot. The Grand Theft Auto trailer is about to drop in a couple of days, and they had the exact same type of artwork color. Baby. I think it is the sexiest color wave. I'm glad they're pulling away from the orange and going to the pink. So just colors in and of itself, the aesthetic looks incredible. I don't care for the actors who are returning other than Rebecca Hall. I guess she's the only one of the characters when we're talking about the humans in this Monsterverse series. Thank God we have the Monarch one on Apple TV. Those characters are so much better. They have so much more depth to them. I don't need Brian Tyree to come back.
Do we know if Monarch is going to overlap with this movie at all? Because they're both being shepherded by Adam Wingard, right? So maybe there'll be a little bit of like depth added from coming in. But
I think it's cool. They're secretly doing the Marvel thing and no one's questioning
it.
Like the Monarch series is taking bits from Kong, Skull Island, the first Godzilla, and is kind of combining everything that will lead to what should have been the King of Monsters movie. Then obviously Godzilla versus Kong, and then this will be the aftermath to that. But I mean, you were the one who had the inside scoop on this on Baby Kong.
I did. I knew I had that early. They're doing a whole new generation of Kongs in this movie.
What else you got? You got a screener? What else
I
you
gotta
know?
call my sources. I gotta figure this out. But yeah, maybe I'll get some more inside scoops on what's the future of this franchise.
I'm excited for it, but for you who is looking at it less of a MonsterVerse fan, is it too goofy?
Well, I think that what Adam Wingard has sort of turned the franchise into is something that is very different from what like Godzilla Minus One is doing, which is like a little bit more of like a complete story and trying to use Godzilla as this like representative idea. I don't think there's as much thematically going on there is stuff, but I'm not nearly as strong in the Adam Wingard movies. Mainly it's just an excuse to enjoy like effects and monster fights, and on that level I really enjoyed the last one. So if they're gonna just sort of give us more of that, like I'm down for it. Look, I'm trying to meet this movie where it's at, and I think there's maybe like a ceiling on how much I'll enjoy it, but I think I'll enjoy it.
You saw the I wish I had it queued up, the side-by-side comparison with these two running, and then in Rocky 4, I think it's in Rocky 4.
Yeah.
Was it Rocky 3 when they're running on the beach, him and Apollo?
Yeah.
These two are ready to duke it down, bro. I love the storyline.
Match cut.
Yeah, I love the storyline of two people going at each other, coming to terms, and then having to fight the bigger baddie.
Yeah.
I don't see how the bigger baddie's the worser baddie. I'm looking at this over here. This man looks like a villain for Planet of the Apes. He does not look like a villain.
It looks like Planet of the Apes poster.
Right? He does not look like a villain for these two. Like, I feel like they were already teaming up to fight Mecha Godzilla. What are they going to do with some apes, bro? Like, that's, I don't understand that. I think the run is as goofy as it needs to be. It's shot for IMAX. I'm going to be there day one. I know there was one post that was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen on screen. My tickets are reserved. I am there. I am ready for it. I love the Infinity Gauntlet on him. That's just for y'all to recognize that it's because Godzilla beat him. I still get comments to this day, Zach, on my LME of Kong fans who are salty on who won that match. I'm sorry, we'll give you a rematch one day, but Kong beat him so bad. It's even in the Monarch show. Russell's character stops the show to be like, if Godzilla wouldn't have won that time. Just solidifying it. Some people, they think the scorecards were done wrong, but there is no scorecard on a movie that's shot in 4K that shows you who won and one bowed to the other. But hey, they're teammates now. They're working together. It really is a full like Rocky comeback story. Oh, this guy is actually way bigger than I thought he was. Oh wait, they might actually have something on here. This guy's pretty big. Oh snap! All right, we may have a movie here.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of them teaming up. So I don't know. Can two take out that many?
Bruh, look, I don't care.
Ape and Lizard together strong.
I'm gonna put it to you this way: this movie comes out, I think, Memorial Day weekend, so it's gonna be a fantastic May birthday month for me. I think that's also where we're getting some actual good Marvel movies coming out. But with this being shot in IMAX, and also Dune moving over to the March date, you saw what it lines up with, right?
Tell me.
We will be at South by at the Bullock Theater, you and I, to see Dune.
All right.
You already know I traveled to that bad boy outside of South by just
they saved you a trip.
They saved me, right? Because it would have been a week early.
Yeah.
And now I get to see a primetime right when there. I will skip a South by screening. I do not care. Shout out to the Austin Bullock IMAX Museum Theater. One of the best movie theater projections out there. And definitely, if you have the chance to go catch an IMAX movie there, it is well worth the trip. Also, really good museum. But yeah, that is.
I haven't been.
Oh, baby, we're going. I still regret not going to go see Creed. We're going to go see this one for sure. It is a true 143 IMAX experience. Cool. So, yeah, Godzilla Minus One, a really good indie international blockbuster.
Yeah.
But it looks like 2024 is going to be the 2016 of blockbusters. If you remember, 2016 had a lot of misses, but it had a lot of blockbusters coming out. And 2024 has got a lot, bro. War of the Planet of the Apes, freaking Furiosa, Dune Part 2.
Another trailer we could talk about, Furiosa's.
Do you want to? Let's talk about a little Furiosa. Let me pull it up over here.
Sure, if you want to. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the return of George Miller, with people conveniently forgetting 300 years of longing, I guess. I still need to see it. I want it. It came out at an inconvenient time for me. But, man, I mean, Mad Max Fury Road, I don't know if there's, been a better action movie since then. It still got the belt for me. and
For sure.
it's a return to the like incredible eye that seemingly only George Miller has for this kind of stuff. There's like
Yep.
a weird twisted nature to some of it, and it's got a grimy feel. A lot of people I see are not so pleased with some of the shots that look a little more CGI heavy, but to me, I don't really have much of an issue, and I also feel like it's going to be extremely different to see it all together in motion. Like part of what made Mad Max Fury Road so strong for me was just the like never ending feel of it. And like I didn't see the trailer for Mad Max Fury Road and think like this is going to be the greatest movie I've seen. But like
It
as
hit
soon as I
us.
saw it, it hit, right?
Yeah.
It was a good trailer, but like the movie was better than trailer. So I'm, I don't need the trailer to like completely blow me away. It got me interested in buying a ticket. So that's all. It's all it really needs to do, I think.
I agree with your statement there. You and I always judge the movies. That's why I don't even like watching trailers.
Yeah.
These are some of the biggest movies, and I couldn't help myself. I am saddened to say that I did see this trailer and the Mad Max one back to back for Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of those in the camp that off of the trailer, it means nothing. This means nothing once the movie comes out. But I am one of the ones who thinks that it looks a little too CGI-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went online and I found out that a lot of people were hating on it, and I know it became this whole thing. So I don't want to be a part of that group. But if you do watch them back to back, I know we're talking about which one looks more polished or not, but I think the Mad Max one looked like it integrated the CGI a lot better with the sets than this one did. I don't know if it's the frame rate or how they shot it. Maybe they're still rendering out some stuff because we got ways to go, but it does look different. You cannot deny that. I'm not saying the movie's going to be bad. I'm day one for sure.
I wonder how much of it is just they almost like killed themselves in the desert on the last one, and they're maybe not going quite so extreme on this one.
But then you can't, for sure, and that's fine. But then you cannot deny that they are doing it a little different.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see ultimately, and I'm in the camp that hopefully, like you're saying, that some of these things still need to be rendered better. We've seen from Marvel movies in the past that what you get in the trailer is not what you always get in the movie. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see with this one. But we're both gonna be there day one.
We're still going to be there day one. But speaking of, like you were saying with the trailers, I've also heard a lot of people complain about May, December, because I've seen them do screenshots off of their TVs. Oh my gosh, bro. Damn, there was a bullet right there. I had the audio on for that one. Never mind. Furiosa, I'll be there day one. Your graphics are great. Oh, dear Lord. May, December. People have been doing screenshots for May, December.
Yes.
And they look horrendous.
It's, as much as like there are benefits to Netflix, it is one of the things that's frustrating because like a lot of people's experience with the movie, their first experience is going to be, bad streaming quality or poorly calibrated TVs, and they're going to get a picture of what the movie is that's not what anybody behind the movie intended.
There's a twofer here because I think people conflate two different things and then make it into one. The first is that, the Netflix cameras. This doesn't fall there. I think people confuse, you and I hear it all the time. Oh, it's like a Netflix movie. Fincher's a Netflix movie.
Right.
The Irishman's a Netflix movie.
It's also worth noting this wasn't a movie that was produced by Netflix. They just bought
there
it
we
out
go.
of Ron.
I hear the Netflix camera thing. They have these like really wide, very blurry. The edges are very soft. This is not that. This is not a Netflix camera department issue. This is like Zach said, Netflix streaming quality. I always go back to that incredible episode of Game of Thrones where the cinematographer decided to come out. Maybe you remember the name of the specific episode, or someone in the chat may bring it up.
The cinematographer night
has to be because it was all done in the dark, and when no one could see anything happening on the regular screens, which that's not on the public, the cinematographer doubled down and went, well, that's just because y'all have cheap TVs. And I'm of two minds because, yeah, sure, I have the privilege of having a TV that can get that dynamic range. And I can see how beautiful it looks. But you have to have like a different filter, a different output, a different streaming thing for people who are not watching it in HDR, because they're filming it to the best of their ability for like big screens and these really big TVs. And I think that's what happened here, because when I saw it in the theater, it looked fine. Totally. Then I'm seeing everybody's screenshots of it, and it just looks horrendous. And that cannot be on people. Not everyone's going to have a Retina phone or an iPad. They're going to have regular TVs. They're going to have regular computers. And I don't know. I just feel like they need to render out a different version of it, because a lot of people are complaining about something that like it isn't the cinematographer and the film team's fault. It's on the
Right.
compression for Netflix.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know there was an ability to download movies at some point from Netflix. I
Mhm.
personally can't figure out how to do it. I
Do you
tried to
think
do it
it's
recently.
Do you think it's still a streaming thing? You don't think it'll still be the output of it? Because we've been hearing with
Maybe.
Wish. You heard the whole
Yeah.
thing with Wish, where they're like, "Oh, the trailer is being compressed. That's why the animation sucks."
I saw
They
it on the
they
big screen. It still looked compressed to me.
exactly. Where they're always going to complain things, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if it's. I just feel like they need to render out multiple things. You know, it kind of like video games. You know how you get to pick either the
Performance mode or fidelity mode or whatever it
thank you.
is.
It's
Yeah.
a matter of that, and I
Yeah.
think we're heading that to movies. But my biggest fear out of all of them is the idea of we're gonna get to a point where you're gonna run out of data to stream these movies. They're
Mhm.
getting everyone used to it right now. My brother brought up a really good example where he switched from sports cable to like Fubu,
Oh yeah, Fubo.
and then he got data capped. And he's like, "What the heck? No, I got
Mhm.
ESPN running in the back." And it's like he's realizing, and as I'm realizing, that if you don't have unlimited internet, you're gonna get crappy quality shows that are still gonna run up your data, and you're gonna be like a movie pass subscription on Netflix where you won't be able to stream everything you want.
It's
And
a throwback to the BlackBerry days. They're not going to charge you for the minutes; they're charging you for the data.
there you go. It's I don't know. I feel like it's gonna get nasty. We'll get into it later, but you know, on Intercut, we always mention something, and then yeah, next April we'll be talking about it more. But it's been a thing you and I have brought up in the past, and I feel
Yeah,
like we might be heading that way. Everyone's used to it now, but they're gonna be capping us soon. But
yeah.
that's May
By the
December. We
way,
have a whole video for it.
yeah, shout out to those of you who commented on that one. I know a lot of you watched it. I got a chance to rewatch it since we did that, and
Mhm.
that movie's just so good, man. It keeps moving up my list.
It's fantastic, and
Perfection.
we'll be talking about it a little bit later because it did win some awards,
Ooh.
rightfully so. So yeah, um, let's move on to the second movie. We have Napoleon. Napoleon is the newest movie from the one and only Ridley Scott. You asked me, Zach, during our Patreon hangout, what the best Ridley Scott movie is,
I did.
and like
He's got a lot.
20 minutes later, I just said aliens, and I don't know if you knew what I was talking about, but I was talking about your answer, and that is that I think Alien is his best. I said aliens. Alien is his
Yes.
best movie. I could hear Blade Runner, but to me, I'm a plug it in with Alien.
I kind of want to just say The Martian to troll you.
Shut up.
I'm going with Alien as well, though.
The Martian's not even his best comedy, and that one best comedy. But speaking of, in that sense, House of Gucci, The
Yes.
Last Duel, and now
Yes.
with this one, people got to understand where he's coming from at this point. No, this man is on a specific wavelength when it comes to these movies. And honestly, I'm looking
Mhm.
here. I think I'm pretty consistent. 3.5, 3.5. I think I may go 3.5 on this one as well.
All
He
right.
has a specific tone that I think people are missing when it comes to these movies, where they think they're a lot more serious than they are. And that doesn't mean that they're not covering serious subject matter, but he's coming at it from an angle that is a little humorous
Mhm.
and is very much making fun of them. And I think that's a big thing that people are finally getting because of a lot of other directors who are approaching their subjects the same way. From Killers of the Flower Moon, showcasing that all of the killers were complete and utter buffoons. I would even say some other fiction movies that kind of showcases people who become evil, all do it out of like spite or these little grievances. This movie This movie never praises Napoleon, bro. It took me a while to realize that the numbers they were calculating were not, they weren't wins. I looked at Alina, I was like, wait, what's it calculating? She's like, it's the people who died under him.
Yeah.
This movie hates Napoleon.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of just thinks he's like a whiny little boy.
He's a loser.
Yeah. He may not be like as short as he is in like cartoons about Napoleon, but he is like a, you know,
An
emotionally
imp.
and mentally stunted guy who
Yeah.
like the movie sort of you know, theorizes that like because he doesn't feel like a conqueror in the bedroom, he decides to throw all that energy onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
He's kind of a cuck.
That he's got, and they literally call him that in the newspaper. Um, he's a mama's boy, and that's
Mhm.
like rooted in a big part of his impotence as well. That he's just always whining, that he's always a little too greedy, that he oversees his potential in many ways. I heard a lot of people be very disappointed on the historical accuracy of this movie. I think you and I know how to approach movies that are definitely taking an artistic route on it, what their perspective is that they're trying to cover. Knowing that, I thought it was really funny. You know, there are
Mhm.
moments where he's like running away from a crowd and his brother's got to like hold people back. It's goofy.
Yeah.
It's showing you that like this big emperor, because he didn't want to be king, he needed to be emperor. It was like a house of cards that he was really holding himself up on. But I don't think it belittles him to the point that it doesn't shout him out for being like an
A
successful.
military innovator.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he was a successful idiot. Like he wasn't brave in being out on the battlefield. It's because he was too stupid that he wanted to be out there. When at no point should he have been there fighting alongside other people because he could have died. But then somehow he was spared. I think the battle sequences here, as we've seen with the Last Duel, which has a really great documentary and how they shot it, because he kind of had a bunch of cameras angled for the battle scenes there. Um, and he takes the same approach here, where he's got like freaking 5, 6 units that are filming the battles at the same time. I didn't see this on the biggest screen, but I kind of wish I made it out to the Dolby for this one, because
Mhm.
that ice one that you see in the trailer
Ooh,
against
Austerlitz. It's incredible. Yeah, that's look,
it lives
there
up
are
to the hype.
sequences in this movie that are just some of the most like brutal and fully realized wartime battles that I've ever seen on the big screen.
Yeah, I know they've been saying that the dads have been out there like nodding along to everything that he does. This is definitely a dad movie,
Mhm.
and while it is making fun of the guy, I don't know, it does show you some times where he kicked ass, and I think Joaquin Phoenix, he does a really good job in the role,
Mhm.
but he's like the only one who's definitely not from France. It's Joaquin American Phoenix,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
would take me out sometimes when he's talking with a bunch of other people. The rest of the cast is pretty good though. Vanessa Kirby,
Mhm. I thought the
fantastic
scenes
job.
between the two of them were particularly excellent. You know, she's I think doing a lot by not doing much, if that makes any sense. Just sort of
I
like
agree.
receiving his childish energy and
Mhm.
how she responds. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's not like a whole lot of standouts. It really is mostly Joaquin's movie, and he is quite compelling in it. Although I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know if it's like one of the top tier Joaquin performances I've seen. Like
Nah,
he's always
definitely not.
excellent, so it's hard to match it up against Her or The Master or other movies like that. Joker,
Yeah,
if you want, even. Um, when it comes to the movie, there are these like as we mentioned, like incredible sequences, and I think I enjoyed it a little bit more when it was focused on the dynamic between him and Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby. Like I love a couple of his really whiny lines and these pork chops were brought to me by destiny kind of attitude.
yeah,
It just at a certain point, I felt like it was kind of recounting the major moment by moment without feeling like it was building towards something. It's more like ticking major events off of a list.
yeah,
And when you talk about like the runtime and all that, rather than something like Killers of the Flower Moon, just to pull up a recent example where it does feel like it's growing in some way, I felt the sameness sort of wear on me by the end. It did not
really.
didn't keep me. It didn't keep me from thinking it was good or think it's worth recommending, but it did keep me from thinking this was great.
That's fair. Yeah, because a lot of it is their letters that they're sharing with each other.
Yeah.
Um, I, I compared a little bit to Maestro that does the same thing, where it's recounting his life and his successes, but specifically through his relationship,
Yes.
and how they had their back and forth with his wife.
Ferrari's got a similar thing going on. We'll talk about that eventually.
Okay, Oppenheimer. Let me throw that one in there too. Like
Yeah, it's the year of
all
it.
these, it's the year of all of these people making these biopics of a specific person, not really looking at them as the hero of their story, but not afraid to judge them and to kind of showcase where their weaknesses were, especially when they came internally for a lot of these people from their loved ones. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I enjoyed it. I thought the scene. I think it's this one with the horse. You know what
Mm.
I'm talking about? Raw.
Oh yeah.
I thought when
Raw.
insane, dude.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought the battle scenes were fantastic, and I thought that it had enough story in there when you're dealing with his background on why he is who he is, why he tried to always overcompensate and try to be the bigger man. But he just had that for that period in time, he just had that sense to him. And it always reminds me of like how Bill Belichick, the football coach, that's how he approaches the field. It's like it's all strategic. And this man's at a certain point, he's like, it's not about the numbers or anything. It's just geometry. It's just how do you beat somebody else out? And it got to a certain point where he just became the old head. There was new waves that were coming in, and the people were against them, and it just didn't work. But he was a brute, and it was his bruteness that got him so far in war.
It's also that he doesn't really seem to have like any hangups on sending his own men to slaughter if it means that they'll
bro,
win
that's
in
so
the end. And
it
so
gets nasty.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. And like the thing is, though, you mentioned the calculating of the numbers and the stuff, and until the end, like I didn't realize that was kind of the point that Ridley was going for. It didn't really feel that like that was the main takeaway from most of the story. Like you, I think I was mostly focused on that sort of relationship between him and Josephine.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain point when he's talking politics with a guy, he falls asleep. He just snoozes. Yeah. I'm like, all right, for sure. I get it. I get the politics. But I kind of wanted to know a little bit more. In the beginning, they tell you, so that's the vantage point to destroy those things. If we take their vantage point, we got it. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I agree. I wanted to know a little bit more of those insights to how we got all that stuff done. I think that would have made it a little bit better. But there's a 4-hour cut, supposedly, reportedly, allegedly, coming out to Apple TV.
Yeah.
Maybe that has all those bits in there.
It's better. Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
But Boat's line is definitely the best line, one of the top 10 lines of the year. Best line of the movie.
There's some good lines in there. So Napoleon, it is out in theaters. I would give it the junior price if you can catch it in a matinee. I think it's worth catching up on the big screen. I wish I had caught it in Dolby, but it will be out soon, probably on digital, and should be ending up on Apple TV Plus since it is one of their original movies. So
we'll be talking about the Killers digital release towards the end of the show, but interesting to see how Apple's going to handle this one and whether or not they're going to let it go to VOD before.
True. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So Napoleon out in theaters now. The next couple will be some quick ones that we got some here. Family Switch. I have, just like you, been calling this one the Family Switch. And
it feels like it needs a the, right?
It feels like it needs a the. But when you search up the Family Switch, Zach, I need to show you that this advanced platform here cannot pick it up.
I guess Letterboxd somewhat recently just got like acquired for a whole bunch of money. Maybe they could put a little bit of those resources toward making sure that the search bar doesn't completely mess up on you if you have one spelling error in your thing. The Letterboxd search ridiculous. Is the most unforgiving search of any online platform.
Unreal. Yeah. Sometimes you push something wrong and it's like, you freaking idiot. So Family Switch, the newest movie out on Netflix that comes from the boy McG.
Yeah, I was surprised when the credits rolled. McG.
We said the same thing. That's when you know we've been doing this for too long. We look at each other, we go, McG. Okay. Really? It's fine. It's not great. It is exactly what it needs to be for streaming. Another movie that is very much aware that it is 13 going on 30, Freaky Friday, 17 again, and makes, like I told you for that Trolls movie, the exact same joke, and I would say does it better in naming all of those movies when they're in that first switch where the family gets swapped out. The spouses are now the kids. The kids are now the spouses, and then the worst AI, CGI, whatever you want to call it, between this dog and the baby, bro.
Yeah, the dog that becomes the baby and the baby that becomes the dog. It all kind of looks a little bit like Uncanny Valley.
Yeah,
weird.
A little much, but it was fine compared to a lot of the other movies that we get. I feel like there's always a knockoff version of this that comes out on some sort of streaming platform. This at least got big actors. It's got our boy here. It took me a little bit to see him. Where is his name?
Brady Noon? Or
is his name Brady Noon? Yeah, I guess it is Brady Noon. Why do I call him Thor? Oh, because he's Thor in Good Boys. Never mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, I always thought his name was
not
Thor.
all grown up, but more grown up. He also was the voice in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem earlier this year.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
He's
good.
I was surprised he was the one who stood out to me too. Like, obviously they're all doing the body switching thing, but he actually does like a kind of convincing Ed Helms voice at several points in this movie. Like, he legitimately sounded like he has that delivery down.
Yeah. Because bless her soul, what's her name? The mom just does 13, 30 going on 30 again. And I'm not complaining because
no,
I like it. But you're right. He's the only one, not just the voice. he does this one Ed Helms
Yeah.
retro- facial reaction. I'm like,
Like,
oh, you
Brady has
studied
definitely watched all the Hangover movies more than once.
easily. So yeah, he was a stand-up for me, and I've had my eye on this guy ever since Good Boys. I think he's really good. The rest of the cast is fine. I think they have a
Yeah.
lot of good jokes that they play on and they flip on. So overall, like I played it in the background when we got together with my family, and
Mhm.
my sister loved it.
That's kind of
It's a
like the
decent movie. Yeah.
perfect way to watch a movie like this, right? Like, it's not something you got to pay close attention to. Honestly, I found it to be like so sweet that it almost put me into a sugar coma. I just
That's
am a
exactly
little
what it needs
bit
to be.
I'm a little bit allergic to movies that are this like relentlessly positive. Like, all these people have like this amazing life moment that's about to happen to them, and it's just like, I don't know. It feels so like wish fulfillmenty and
Yeah.
lacking. I don't know. For me, I find those movies to be kind of like nauseating, but there
Mhm.
are just like, there's a few solid jokes in here that help pull you through. I would, say that this is kind of like a good movie to watch if you need something that's like a common ground movie, like maybe you and your significant other don't have like
No.
perfectly aligned movie tastes, or you're getting together with some relatives over the long weekends and you need something like kind of benign to watch. Like, it's
This
fine
would
for
be that.
that, but yeah, you don't have to go out of your way for it. Do you want to talk at all about the siblings kissing, or do we want to just like leave that on the floor?
Hey, you brought it up, bro. I understand that
This
these movies are meant to do weird things, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you a lot of other ones before we lead into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's icky, and you as a screenwriter get to choose whatever you want, whatever you want to cover.
Yeah.
The dad in the kid's body spanks a high schooler,
Right,
right?
there's
There's a lot of
flirts with a high
moments.
schooler. There's a little here's the thing, is I think I don't have a problem with any of those things happening in a movie. You want That's sort of like the good stuff in a body switch movie. You want to pull on the awkwardness of it all. It just kind of feels like this is not like not a dark enough movie to go to some of those places.
Hey, bro, look, I'm usually, you're bringing it up because I'm usually the person
Yeah.
who can separate. All right, this is for the movie, but then sometimes it's like, why did you feel the need to write this? I
Mhm.
always go with the writing aspect of it. So if
Yeah,
you
somebody
notice this now,
chose to put that in.
somebody chose to put that in. Now, I'm glad you bring this one up because you have yet to see Dix the Musical. Huh?
No, I have not.
Dix the Musical is going to be my shortest review here. It is a very funny movie.
Mhm.
Then I don't know what the hell happens in the third act, and I think it's very counterintuitive for what they think they're going for. And someone told me, yeah, this isn't the movie for you. My brother in Christ. I don't know what that means about a movie being for someone or not being for someone, but I think the movie's really funny till they also do something that is this past 100 yards, dude. So once you watch Dix, we'll have a much deeper discussion. So I guess it's maybe because I've seen Dix that I saw this and just
Pun
went,
intended.
oh man, this is like the tame version of that. It
the
is
the
still very
Netflix
weird.
version.
It is the Netflix version, I guess, for the whole family. Yeah. We'll talk about that one later. This one's fine for what it is, some weird moments, but overall pretty funny. And I like that you bring up how you hate that type of genre of movie.
Mhm.
Because don't we have two other ones literally queued up right here that are exactly what you say is worse? Genie to me is second.
Yeah.
It is.
I'd agree. I'd rather watch Family Switch than watch Genie.
I don't think Genie is the worst. Because I do think that this actor was funny. I know him specifically from very serious roles. He was in Men.
Yeah. Or
What happens in I
he was
May
in I
Destroy
May
You.
Destroy You. Like, what?
He is
That's
a
a 360 or a 180.
Femme is a short film that we caught, I believe, at Sundance. It has now
Yeah.
been turned into a feature film, bro. And it's also really interesting because Harris Dickinson, I'm going on a complete tangent here, but we were talking about characters that look a lot alike. Harris Dickinson was the white boy in Femme, the short film.
Yeah.
Now they made Femme the feature film. They did not bring Harris back. They brought his doppelganger, George McKay. So if
Yeah,
we
just
said that these two look each other, we
gonna
ain't the
swap
only
out the
ones.
white British boys.
They know that they look exactly alike. Add Snow from the new Hunger Games movie in there as well. But getting off that tangent, the idea is that I've always seen Papa as a like theater actor, and I believe he is a
Yeah.
theater actor.
Yeah, I think you're
So
right.
so seeing him in a comedy, to me, he was the best part in a not so great movie.
Mhm,
because like he's going fully in. He's got these like facial expressions when he's trying to do a wish and his phone's about to die, even though he wants to call 911.
mhm,
I liked his take of it. Damn, is this the worst type of movie that you were just damning right now about it being way too positive and trying to give
mhm.
you this message about how you don't need magic, but actually you do kind of need magic
Yeah.
to make it better.
I mean, I think it's just kind of dramatically uninteresting to watch like things work out over and over for a person and just be like, oh, well, that's nice. Like maybe it's a little bit like Lifetime Hallmark movie for me, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just find it to be it's the kind of thing that makes me want to stop paying attention to a film. And I think you need to include a little bit more messiness, a little bit more tension. We should mention, Genie stars Melissa McCarthy. It's another one of Melissa McCarthy's straight to streaming comedies. And I think everybody knows what they're going to get with Melissa McCarthy, and I find her to be
One
like really
second as I switch
charming.
these out right here. The things are
Yeah,
dying.
like
I wish I had a wish to get my headphones on as I switch
you all
these
right there,
out.
you got the audio.
He has one even in the movie where he's able to get his headphone or his phone charged completely.
Yeah, yeah,
See if
yeah.
it works. Test, test, Zach.
You hear me? I hear you. But I don't know if you hear me
Okay.
yet, but
All right, keep
um
telling me about how much you hate Genie. I'll let you know when I'm tapped back in.
right. So, and I think as far as Melissa McCarthy comedies go, like there's just not a lot of like fresh feeling jokes. Like it's kind of a vibe. Like if you like the idea of just sort of like existing with Melissa McCarthy's energy for an hour and a half, like that's pretty much what you get. Like there's scenes where she like kind of dances, there's scenes where she's silly and eating food or whatever. I don't know, it just not it's not the writing itself that really gets any laughs. It's the performances from these people. And if that's enough for you, maybe you'll enjoy it. I just think that it's like many of her comedies recently, like there's just not a lot of script there that makes it really worthwhile. So yeah, I mean, I at least laughed a bit at Family Switch, so I would say that it's not as successful as that one. Um, Although, at least for this, at least this one is not yet another Melissa McCarthy movie directed by Ben Falcone, because that's probably the bottom tier of the Melissa McCarthy offerings that we get.
I'm trying to read your
So,
lip, Zach.
are we still having some audio issues here?
Yeah, I might have
I'll
to.
do.
All right, I'm back. I hear through these. I got 10% on these.
There we go.
So
We just got to run through the last bit.
nah, I'm gonna get my other AirPods right now.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I was going to say about the Melissa McCarthy stuff, because it's like the script itself just isn't that
I
funny.
agree.
It's really held up by whether or not you find her charming.
Yeah. Also, the ending for what she decides to do with her life, I thought was goofy as can be. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you mentioned the AMC ad that runs through this movie.
No, I didn't.
She goes to the theater to watch Tom Cruise, becomes a massive Tom Cruise fan,
Yeah.
and then is always sitting down with her AMC signature popcorn. She even
It
gets
all-
the AMC purse that they're selling in their merch store.
right. And yet this movie will never play in an AMC theater.
That's funny. That's hilarious. Maybe it was a poster
Yeah.
that did it. I did have another one. I know that you had shouted out this movie because the writers or producers were like doing some stuff on Twitter.
They were basically like, we got to get these runtimes under control. Movies shouldn't be over 2 hours long. And it's like, I don't know how much you know about pacing your movies, but
I think they worked on a completely different Genie movie. I think they're Disney's
really?
Genie. Yeah.
Oh, geez. I should.
So you're gonna have
then.
so you're gonna have to bring that all up for their next Genie movie. I think it'll still apply. It's just not this movie because I was searching for them and I was like, are these the same guys or not? So I could be mistaken there, but I think they have a Disney Genie movie that nobody knows about. So technically, they must have broken an NDA in their bio.
Uh-oh.
So just letting you know. You still got a scoop.
Do we want to at least mention Candy Cane Lane?
No, we have to, because I think out of all of the movies that we have here, there is one specific film from Eddie Murphy that I think embodies all of this that I've always hated when it comes to what's it called? These holiday movies where you're putting your family over everything else. I'm trying to see if it's
the kind of cheesy learn to love your family at
this
the
one.
holiday stuff. Yeah.
This one. I'm gonna spoil Imagine That for those who haven't seen Imagine That.
That's like
it's cute.
The rock bottom of Eddie Murphy's.
bro,
Like,
it's beautiful, it's sweet. I hate stories that talk about how the guy who's working for his family while they live in a freaking crazy house. Well, they're all going to like these big colleges. The moment these movies end, they always quit their jobs as if like you weren't working at the job to begin with to be able to uphold your family financially, and then you
right.
just quit and imagine that everything's beautiful and dandy. This movie, when it ended, made
They
no
never
sense to me.
they never show you the scene that happens immediately after credits roll where the family has to adjust their budget, downgrade
Exactly.
their house.
Dude, the Genie movie does this.
Yeah.
This one's practically doing that when it ruins everyone's family stuff. But of course, magically everything gets fixed. In
Yeah.
Genie, magically, everything gets fixed. This man is ordering stuff off the menu that's not even there anymore. Imagine that has always been the peak of that because they just don't answer what comes next. I'm like, that's such a cop out when you're trying to
Mhm.
have real issues. Now, I would argue that in Genie, the moment you got magic, I guess screw it. You have magic, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't really apply. The themes that you're going for about what real people face.
Yeah. I'll say this
But
one thing in Genie's favor. Uh I'm glad that they didn't at least like play coy about whether or not he had a genie, that he actually would just tell people.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Would they do that whole family sequence where they're all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
wishing each other away? Candy Cane Lane, I think it's better than Imagine That because it's working on the side of almost like a college road trip. I'm trying to remember what his college one was because college road trip was Martin Lawrence and they left. Here it's like college
Yeah.
road trip, but they're staying. It's more like College Lane, where
Right.
all of his family is leaving. He's lost his job and he's facing off with his neighbor in who's going to build the best, like decoration stuff, which
Yeah.
people take really seriously, dude. Like the older I get and the more that I talk to homeowners, that is like a big thing when someone is gonna post their lights or not. Um
Mhm. Don't
uh
piss off the HOA.
yeah. This time around, he's always losing to the person who just buys the blow up stuff.
Played by Ken
He
Marino.
fantastic as always. He's always making his stuff handcrafted, but he never
Mhm.
wins. So once he gets fired, he's like, you know what? Nobody cares about handcrafted stuff anymore. I'm just gonna try to buy my stuff so that I can win this $100,000 that they're finally gonna do this year. And he ends up finding Jillian Bell in like a pop-up store. They had this really good moment. I don't know if you got to see the scene
I did.
where he goes to Walmart and they're fighting for the stuff. Costco has nothing, and then they go to Target and they're already at a Valentine's Day decorations. I thought that
Mhm.
scene was funny. That leads them to Jillian Bell, who's got like this pop-up Christmas store that
Yeah.
uses magic for these
It's not a
decorations.
regular store, it's a whimsical store.
Yeah, it's like the set of the Santa Claus from Disney.
Or
He
that
gets all
that
of
movie with Dustin Hoffman, Mr. Magical's Mr. Emporium thing. You remember that one? I think Natalie Portman's in it too.
the one where
Mr.
they swapped
Wonders.
out where
I
they had
don't
to
know.
swap out
No,
Heath Ledger.
that's a different one, I think.
Oh, okay. I thought that was that one. But yeah, it's a lot cuter in the sense of a family film. Um, it's not top tier Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy, and I feel like we've lost him a little bit
Yeah.
because between a lot of the movies that we've gotten from him recently, You People and this one, I think Dolomite may be the only one that I would separate just a bit.
Yeah, Dolomite's
But,
great and maybe gonna be the last great Eddie Murphy movie at this rate.
but don't you feel he feels subdued?
Yeah, I mean it's almost like he's taken a sedative or something, right? Like
He used to, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's
And I don't know if
different.
it's just because like he's got his money and he kind of just feels comfortable being on autopilot in movies like this. I mean, it's not exactly like, we need the prime Eddie Murphy for Candy Cane Lane, but I just hope that like that's not it, that it's just maybe like him being disinterested in the bad movies, and that like when we get Beverly Hills Cop 4 next year, he's actually going to bring it.
True. But even in Imagine That, and I agree with you on Beverly Hills. Thanks for bringing that up because
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that is a blast of the past and is able to bring something new. But he did Coming to America, and I
Yeah.
didn't feel it
And
there, right?
yeah.
So when he's doing these movies, I would even argue that when it comes to Imagine That, even when it's a crappy movie, he was always like he had that energy that the only other person I can
True.
bring up is Truman Show, Jim
Jim
Carrey,
Carrey. Yeah, or like a
and
Robin
he's somebody
Williams
else.
where they would just go for it.
Yes, and I feel Jim Carrey's still doing it in the Sonic movies. Like he goes above
Right.
and beyond.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I do feel him. feel a little subdued in these recent movies where he's still there, and you see it's because you see the glimpses of him kind of like there's this fleece joke that I thought was pretty funny, that I feel can only come from like an Eddie Murphy, and I miss those moments. We
Yeah.
rewatched Haunted Mansion because they had the new one
Mm.
that came out, and because of that, uh, that's another movie that wasn't so great, but he was still so over the top, and I don't know, I miss that side of Eddie Murphy. I don't know. I hope it comes back. Here's a shout out to your Magnum.
Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium.
What the heck is this, bro?
That's
What the heck
basically
is
Jillian
this?
Bell's store. You didn't see this one? It's the same writer as Stranger Than
Damn.
Fiction.
Was it good?
Nah.
Wait, it's kind of coming back to me. This feels like a Blockbuster Days movie. Damn.
Yeah, exactly, man.
What did I say? The Heath Ledger movie?
Oh shoot, that was the Terry Gilliam one. I'm just forgetting the name of it.
Yeah. Because that was the one where they had to replace them like halfway. Okay, Dr. Parnassus. They're like, yeah, they're both weird. There's Imaginarium. Imaginarium's in there. They're completely different movies. Got it. Okay. All right. So between the family switch, between Genie, and between Candy Cane Lane, they're better than all the Hallmark movies that are out there. But that's only because they have like heavy hitters on it. I think I would rank Family Switch at number 1. I think I have Genie and Candy Cane Lane kind of tied. Candy Cane Lane is 2 hours long.
That's the thing, man. I got a like, I don't know, 25 into it, and it was like, all right, how much more do I have to deal with?
It's too much.
Yeah.
Let me see if this works, bro. You think this works if I connect this? Will my AirPods charge? Oh my gosh, it works, bro. I can't move.
Testing.
It actually works. I'm gonna end up with some radiation, bro. I'm gonna be worse than Godzilla by the end of this. But I think it's gonna keep me going. All right, Candy Cane Lane, Genie, Family Switch, all the holiday movies that are out. But alas, the best of the bunch, the best that came out to streaming is animated, and it comes from the one and only Adam Sandler. Take it away.
Sandman. Let's go.
Still got it.
He still got it. This is really good. You're the one who actually caught this one first, and I was very pleased to see that you enjoyed it. I caught it over the weekend, and you know what? I really enjoyed this one too, Leo. The Sandman's got a co-writing credit on it as well as I think like
really
Robert Smigel, who's done a lot of like SNL stuff, and he's like the voice of Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and it has worked with Sandler.
This is the face of the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy who got was it arrested for a segment on Colbert, was it? Where they went to the Capitol. That's the guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's funny, bro. I've never known what he looks like.
But I think Leo is actually very charming, like as a antidote to all these other movies we just mentioned. Like this one is sweet too, but it does have a little bit of a harder edge and a little bit more like I don't know, gruff qualities that make me enjoy it. Like ultimately, like it's about Sandler doing his Waterboy voice for a bunch of kids to tell them that they're not that special, and I kind of love that. He's got this one song, "Don't Cry," that's honestly like one of his funniest songs in decades. I think it's like really hysterical. There's just a lot of good bits in this movie, whether it's the helicopter parenting via drone or those like bouncy babbling kindergarteners, which I find
that was my favorite part.
Funny.
That is what animation is for, to be able to embody something so cartoonishly, but that is what it feels like. Yeah. Like they're just always bouncing around.
And like this isn't like the prettiest looking animated movie, but they make smart choices like that in terms of the characters, in terms of certain scenes. Like this is sort of like a low key musical, and they sort of break from reality to have these musical moments in it. It works for this story. I thought it was very charming. I enjoyed this a lot.
On top of it, finally, we realize that you can get actors to voice act. They don't need to be just Seth Rogen doing Donkey Kong. It doesn't need to be Chris Pratt just always doing the same voice. I like that they play with their stuff here, that you're almost trying to figure out who is that. Sometimes you'll be able to still hear inflections that'll connect who's who. But like Joe Coy as the coach did not sound like Joe Coy as the coach.
Totally.
Sandler doing a voice. I would even argue with his kids who are in the movie as well. I forget who they voiced, but he made it a whole family affair as well. And
Mhm.
honestly, out of all the Nepo, like his isn't even Nepo kids, his is a Nepo familia at this point, and they have just taken over Netflix. And you know what? I'm with it. I know
Yeah,
you've been on board for the Sandman the entire time, and
always.
yeah, he just continues to deliver. Out of all the animated films that came out, from Wish, um, I think that's it. That's a heavy hitter. Leo was the better one.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, it's not something that I think is going to be in the discussion for best animated movie of the year when we talk about our Spider
But it
Verses
should.
and we talk about Boy and the Heron. But look, but like on that like next rung down, like one of those movies that people talk about is like, oh, maybe it can get the 5th spot at the Oscars. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
upset about Leo.
I would not be upset about Leo. I'd be surprised, but Leo gang, come on. That would be
Yeah.
the meme that I would stand behind because you know what?
Hashtag Leo gang.
It's actually pretty good. So we're starting the campaign now. FYC, Leo is playing over on Netflix. Do yourself a favor and watch it because it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. Best actor campaign for Adam Sandler as Leo.
The first voice acting nomination.
Deserves it.
As we wrap up some of the other stuff here, Devesh was asking about the Hannah Waddingham one. That's how you say her last name, I believe.
I think
She's got
so,
like
yeah.
the musical. I know that a lot of people get this for Prime from Mrs. Maisel,
Yeah, it's
Mrs.
more
Swan,
like a
like a
singing
special.
special, right? Because
Yeah,
she's
and
also
she brought
since
people.
she's from theater and she has like an incredible singing voice. There was a video
Not too
going
shabby.
around online of her doing Shallow with Jason Sudeikis. That was pretty
Mhm.
solid.
Yeah,
I haven't caught this one yet. I think it's on Apple TV Plus though.
neither. We also have right here Brady's talking about Nimona. We I have not started compiling my list yet. It was a good year of movies.
Yeah,
It was a good year of movies.
I
Um,
I've
Nimona
been
should count.
compiling my top movies of the year, and I have Leo and Nimona like 2 or 3 spots away from each other. I won't say which one's on top right
All right. But yeah, no, shout out to everybody in the chat who's been keeping up as well. If you have any questions and anything else, we're going to lead into our news segment
now.
because we have two really big stuff. One was breaking news that kind of shook up the horror world, and then the other one shook up the indie world because Zach and I covered it a couple of weeks back and we were kind of confused on what
Mhm.
constitutes as indie or not. But before we get to those, Silent Night was also in theaters. We'll probably catch that in the future, but we're hearing a lot of people say that it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So
It's just a shame, right? It's directed by John Woo. I think you're a Joel Kinnaman guy. I like him as well.
I don't hate
Um,
him.
yeah, and like
I
the
wish the
whole
best for
idea
him.
of this sort of like silent John Wick style movie could be cool, but yeah,
We
the
just
buzz
had
on this one
Violent
is
Night.
not that great.
We just had Violent Night. I think that's another thing that hurts this.
Mm,
And yeah, but we'll be catching this one soon. I've got some screeners that I'll be going to this week, and I'll try to fit it in between. The Renaissance movie also came out. I went to go see Godzilla, Napoleon, and there's a Christian movie out there called The Shift. I don't know if you've seen that one.
no,
I'll,
I
I'll be
haven't.
making an LME on that one.
Oh yeah.
But everyone was dressed to the nines, bro. I thought there was a dominatrix convention happening at the local theater, and I wish if I did man on the street things, I'd be going up
Mhm.
to them, going like, "So how was the holdovers?" They came to play, bro. Like they were
Yeah.
just excited. I will give it between the two movies that are out there. I'm gonna try to catch this one at some point, just like I did the Taylor Swift one. But they have been going just as crazy in the stands. I mean, they literally have formations. They have bracelets over
Yeah.
there for the other movie, but these
It's
guys have dance moves.
Yeah, because it's funny, like everybody who was going to Taylor Swift in person and then they carried this over to the movie, it was kind of like dress like your favorite era of Taylor Swift. But for Beyonce, it was just like dress as well as you can. This is a formal event. Like this, you have to
Bro,
show
yeah.
out for Beyonce.
It was Thursday, 5 p.m., and it looked like a Saturday night at the Bounce Club, bro. They were going in crazy. And I will give that out of the two merch buckets, that matted black on Beyonce for the cup and
Mm,
the bucket, it looks clean, dude. So I don't know how much of those are going to keep because I know the Taylor Swift ones are still there. They sold out, but then they brought so many back. The
yeah.
Beyonce ones look kind of clean. I would like to cop one of those, but I'll be catching this one soon because I know this is also doing the non A-list thing. You got to pay out of pocket for it. So I'm curious because this one's actually more of a documentary. So there's some behind the scenes on how she actually set up for her concert film as opposed to Taylor's just being a concert film. So this may have some eligibility when it comes to docs at the end of the year. So I'm gonna keep that one on my radar. You got to see the Bad Guys, very bad holiday special. If you want to bring that up really quick. Big fan of the
Yeah,
original.
that's the thing is like I did really end up enjoying the original, so I was kind of excited to see like a quick revisit to that world, and very quickly I realized, oh, this is not the same thing because it's got like a cheaper style of animation than the
Yeah.
movie, and then you hear them talk, and it's like, oh, that's not Sam Rockwell, that's not Mark Maron. They didn't bring any of the same voice actors
Oh,
back, so
really?
yeah, so this
Oh,
is like
throw that away.
exactly. It's that made for TV, made for DVD kind of lower quality that's really just there to like entertain little kids who love the feature film. If you like me were like excited because oh, Bad Guys was good, maybe I can watch a little more of it. This is totally passable.
So the whole pitch that I gave you, even with the first one, how the author's entire intent was to take the Pulp Fictions and the Oceans movies of the world and put it to kids. Do they even do a bit here? Is there a
Not really. It's got some like heisty qualities, but the homages aren't there. No.
oh that's a shame. That's pretty bogus. Damn. On the flip side of that, I know you said you haven't caught it yet, but Good Burger 2 was out. I think it's the same quality as Good Burger 1.
Hell yeah. Okay.
I think it's the exact same thing. I think it's the exact same thing.
I mean, all I wanted from it, which I'll catch it this week, was just a nostalgia trip, man. Nostalgia trip
All
with
it
a
is.
couple people that I have a lot of fondness for. So
It's fun.
cool.
If you don't like the first one, you're not gonna like this one. Nothing changes. Too many SNL people for my mind. They should have kept with all that cast. They should have kept with the OGs. I don't need.
Yeah. Give me some Lori Beth Dinberg.
I know you like Keenan. I have my takes. I have a video essay that I'm gonna do, like one of those deep ones, those retrospectives for Good Burger 1 and 2. I think this speaks a lot on their relationship. There's a lot of history that happened with Keenan and Kel, and who moved on and what happened there. And this story is yet again the Keenan character always trying to sell out Good Burger, while Kel just wants to be there to have fun. And bro, Kel still brings it. It's his energy. It's his just the charisma that he has. He has a family in this. Not to get into too many Good Burger 2 spoilers. His son is just like him. And I'm sorry, but my man doesn't take bad movies. So if he's in Story Ave, Moonlight, and Black Panther as some of the biggest roles, it's a prime movie.
Yeah. You can't. This is obviously on like that top tier level.
Why would this be the flop?
Yeah, exactly. Alex Hibbert's only in quality.
His introduction is Frybrows. Enjoy it, bro. If you get the chance to like enjoy it, enjoy it. Okay, it is that movie. A little over the top. Some of the cameos I could have used without. It does have that part to it. I'm not gonna lie, where it feels very corporatized, obviously, with it being a sequel. But I think they still got the same energy thanks to Cal back in it. So Good Burger 2. Good. Now let's move on to the news of the week. Take it away.
Let's do
with
it.
The horror stuff.
Yeah. Obviously the biggest news that we missed while we were out in terms of entertainment shifts or whatever, it's probably the news around Scream 7, because Spyglass Entertainment, the production company behind the Scream movies, announced it would be moving forward on Scream 7 without either Melissa Barrera or Jenna Ortega, who starred as the Carpenter sisters in the previous 2 installments of the franchise. The move comes after comments were made regarding the ongoing situation in Gaza. And now I think the decision by Spyglass is pretty extreme, and we could spend time litigating the geopolitical situation in Israel. But to be honest, I don't really feel like doing that in an online medium. Don't know how productive that is. I've been spending my time and energy trying to take those conversations with friends and family offline, where they're maybe a little bit more productive. But I do want to ask you, just purely as like a huge fan of the Scream franchise, but somebody who I know had a lot of criticisms about Scream 5 and Scream 6. How are you feeling about a potential Scream 7 that acts as if the previous 2 films didn't happen?
I feel vindicated. I felt like so many people were getting duped by what 5 and 6 were doing. I had always said that those movies felt like, oh, we're going to call ourselves Scream to make it feel like a reboot because that's what they do. Ha ha ha. Funny? No, I hate more than anything something that tries to hide behind the joke that they're trying to be. It's like, no, you're just being it too. Just because you call it out does not change it. And I felt like a lot of it did that. Now, the most disappointing part for me is that I think they have some of the best kills, some of the best visuals. Like you and I know that a movie that has potential and does good things, those are the ones that are most disappointing when the through line that these Scream movies have always carried gets butchered by what felt like these overly reflective letterbox type bits.
Mhm.
I just never found those funny. I felt like they were excuses. And my main crux of it all was that to me, they felt like a corporate board that went every killer and every motivation and every response that we'll get online. How can we retroactively calculate it? That has always been my crux to
Mhm.
to how they approach these movies. And now that everybody hates Spyglass, I can finally rest in peace and be like, I told y'all, these are the same people behind it all. If you don't
Yeah.
agree with this decision, I am here to tell you who the hell do you think was given the green light to a lot of the decisions made into the movie. Bro, I'm ready. I booted up my project file. I'm ready to get to work on those last two. Again, they weren't terrible. But if there's one thing that you and I have always said when it comes to these sequels and franchises, yo, see it through. Y'all have still been building up to something. You and I, when we arrived to South by, made sure to catch Scream 6 before we started everything else because we knew, yo, that's a big movie that's out, and we provided our coverage. I'm a big Scream fan, even when I'm not a fan of the new installments.
Yeah.
I hate them not continuing it. That is so bogus. So all this core 4 stuff that they were building, like
Right.
there are still elements of the movies that I'm
Bending
claiming I
over
like.
backwards to make sure that some of these characters stayed alive, even as they were like brutally attacked on screen in ways that no rational, logical solution would
Thank you.
explain they're still alive. Yeah.
After making fun of other movies that do that while you're
Yeah.
trying to call yourself elevated horror, I had a
Mhm.
bunch of gripes with it, but I was still there day ones for all of those movies. And now they're not going to be there day one for you. That is bogus. And I think that speaks on to the main people who I said were greenlighting these problems. It's one of those reverse engineered ones where the writers weren't ever really writing it. They got the people. You know how outlets, well, they know what rating they want to put out there. So they look at all the journalists. So it's their organic opinion that the outlet wanted it to be. The studio wanted the films to go a certain way. They got the writers they needed. They already did them bogus because they fired the Radiohead guys.
Yeah.
They were bringing in the guy from Freaky. You saw the Freaky guy? So goofy, dude. So goofy. What a goof. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up. But if you know what I'm talking about, recap
Yeah.
that.
He what was it, like, stop fighting that he said?
He
Something
pretty
like
much,
that.
yeah, he did a tweet and delete because he came out and he said,
I
"Oh,
didn't have this decision.
I wish there was something I could do about it." But
Yeah.
ironically,
Yeah.
it's his project. When it wasn't his project for the Looney Tunes thing, oh, he had a lot of things to say. How
Right.
everybody should band together and boycott that part of the industry because of whatever else, and because it was bogus and the project wasn't going to go through. Not only is this deeper, but because it was going to affect his pocket, and he knew he could just performatively say, "Oh, let's do a boycott that'll never happen over there." He's a
Right.
hypocrite, bro. And I like some of his movies, but that was
I
such a
know.
hypocritical thing for
Yeah.
him to do.
Such a
Pathetic.
weak statement.
Pathetic.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense that he would delete it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, we have been frustrated with the past couple movies. I thought Scream 6 was pretty bad. So like in some regards, like, maybe like Scream does kind of need to just like completely refresh and reboot itself for the next movie. There's not really anything that Spyglass or Christopher Landon are doing that's like giving me a whole lot of faith in this. And the other thing is that, like, as much as I didn't like Scream 6 or Scream 5, even on retrospect, like, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega are not the problems. If anything, Jenna Ortega was like my favorite part of the last film.
Clean
And
every single time. Yeah.
yeah, and so like they're weakening their future position by not having these talented actresses that people are really attached to continue on with the franchise. Like, I think they need to kind of like rethink what they're doing going forward anyway. But they're also like really, really shooting themselves in the foot by by cutting down the thing that maybe people liked most about the last ones, right?
Getting rid of Jenna Ortega is a really stupid decision.
Although, so
I
we should also clarify that some reports are saying that because Jenna didn't have the same comments,
for
was
sure.
she wanted more money than they were offering her, and that the offer was like below 7 figures for somebody of Jenna
Stupid.
Ortega's star.
No wonder
It's
she's gonna go
crazy.
do Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday
Yeah,
did numbers for her, and they're giving her whatever she wants.
another indictment of Spyglass Entertainment's sort of like aptitude and this decision making.
That's all I'm saying. And those were the people behind the other two movies. I will say that people realized immediately that they forget who goes to these movies.
Yeah.
Latinos show up to these movies like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you've pissed off the Latinos who go to these movies. Like Google it. It is insane how much Hispanics go to these movies. They love horror movies. They are scared to death by The Nun. and then there were like 60% of the people who were there. And then you pissed off the horror fans who are just really upset with you not completing a story because there was, look, forget my opinion, there were still fans of the storyline that
Right.
you had going. They love these characters, and then you're going to kill them off screen before they get killed on screen? BS. How does a franchise that would make fun of a studio who would do something like this end up being the studio who does it? Do you really want to see a reboot where they're going to be coy and make fun of the decision they made? That's so
Right, that's the
disgusting
other
to me.
thing. Like,
Right?
most franchises could maybe like get away with something like this, but
I'm
Scream
going
is
to try to Deadpool
so
it.
reflexive and does so much self-commentary that
Thank
now this has
you.
to be part of the story.
And I'm telling you that they already did it. That's what 5 and 6 were. 7's gonna be a mess. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's goofy, but yeah, that is Scream
Yeah.
7.
I
We'll see
agree
what
with
comes out in the future.
Brady in the live stream who's saying they kind of need to
What Brady say?
put the franchise away for a decade and just kind of like leave things lying for a little bit.
They
We
messed
need,
up real bad.
yeah.
You know what? Make the stab movies instead. The movies within the movie.
There you go.
That'd be the most meta thing they could do. Yeah. I mean,
Honestly,
think about it. We've been doing that now.
that's the best idea I've
Thanksgiving.
heard since it started. Yeah.
Thanksgiving is based off of the fake trailers. Machete was based off the fake trailers. Hobo with a Shotgun was based off the fake trailers in the Grindhouse movies. You know, that would mean they had innovative people, though. Never mind. I'm not even gonna go down this path. I'm not even gonna go down. I'm not gonna give out free work. Scream 7, disappointing. And I guess there's a lot of people who are calling out for the censorship of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a story that like we've heard the end of at least yet. So,
oh no, I mean, even when we were talking about the Wile E. Coyote stuff, now they're shopping it. So
exactly, yeah. So if there's any significant enough developments for us to come back and talk on it, I'm sure we will.
Very disappointing, but I can't wait to make a video now. All right, which one do you want to start with now as we talk about some awards?
We can talk about the Gothams first, maybe. Because we talked about the nominations 2 weeks ago, and they announced their winners, and it's a few movies that we like quite a bit, including the best documentary winner, one of your favorites, Four Daughters.
Hey, for real?
Yeah. I think go back one page from where you are. So yeah, it beat out a bunch of other really good documentaries. So that is firmly in the awards race after its debut at TIFF, and I know you really, really like that one.
It's fantastic, bro. You got a link. Please watch it.
I do. I got to get on that. Past Lives took home the award for best feature.
Let's go.
Yeah, so it's keeping the name alive. I know a lot of people have moved on to Oppenheimer or to May December or whatever late year movie, but don't forget about Past Lives. That movie is still so good.
May December should have counted here.
Right? Anatomy of a Fall took home not only best international feature, it won best screenplay as well. Wow. So even though it is not going to be France's selection, it picks up a couple big awards here at the Gotham, keeping its name in the awards race.
Question: how do you feel about it against Poor Things and Zone of Interest?
I mean, I don't understand why Poor Things qualifies here for the Gothams, but I don't know. I guess I just don't understand the Gotham's whole criteria anyway. I personally prefer those two movies, but like, I also don't think they should have been nominated here.
Very true. Now, when it comes to these three being an option, it's very interesting what you were saying. Anatomy of a Fall, not being France's submission, still has the chance to get a nomination, which would be like baller status. Out of these three, though, if you had to knock one out, which one are you knocking out?
I mean, if you're asking me out of these three, I would knock out Anatomy of a Fall. I personally think Poor Things and Zone of Interest are two of the best movies of the year. But
very interesting.
Yeah,
and we know people love All of Us Strangers too. We're not even counting that one, but that could be a sneak in. People love it.
Quick shout out to the fifth movie in there, Totem. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. It's Mexico's submission to the Oscars this year. Yeah, I caught it recently at the Criterion screening room, which was a hell of a treat, by the way. But the movie itself is like really, really beautiful. Like it feels like watching somebody's core memory. Like it's sort of this afternoon following a little girl as her family prepares an event, and like you learn more and more about the family as it goes, and it's just so tender and intimate. It reminded me, not take away the anxiety of Shiva Baby, but that intimacy around a family event, a family get together. It reminded me of it in that way.
All right. I'll make sure to catch it because I've seen the director's previous work, and I know this one got some honors at Chicago Fest. So you would push for that in the international category?
I gotta sit down and look at the long list. I mean,
It's long, bro.
there's a lot of great movies. I would definitely say that it's a short
Short
list
list.
for
Beautiful.
me. Yeah.
All right. You had mentioned screenplay for Anatomy of a Fall.
Yep.
I'm looking at May, December. Y'all are goofing.
Yeah, it's got to be May, December. We'll talk more about May, December script in a little bit.
Ridiculous.
But Lily Gladstone ends up winning for best lead, or actually, we're on A.V. Rockwell winning
Director.
breakthrough director, which great for her. By the way, there's a weird story out there.
You
about,
got
like,
okay. Tell me, bro.
I
know very little.
I know very little about it too. Caitlin was trying to explain it to me, but
Yeah,
there's this whole like stalker situation with somebody who was like a rabid fan of A.V. Rockwell, and that person ended up, I think, murdering somebody. It's a really
like a
crazy story. Like,
producer,
yeah,
and they were stalking the set. I heard that they were an extra on the set.
Yes, they were an extra.
Someone had claimed that they were even the body double for Tiana, so
That's
they
nuts.
were close. They went rabid on them. Yeah,
I gotta read that article. Maybe we should put it in the description too.
We'll put it down for y'all to read. But I'm worried because how does that affect her in the future with these wins and stuff that she's getting? That's like baggage that comes with her as a talent. But like she's got a bright future, and that's just such a nasty background thing that's happening. It's yeah, like someone died.
Yeah,
died.
I mean, and does not seem like her fault or anything.
She's a victim of it.
Yeah, she's a victim, but like it's a just crazy situation.
In the midst of this award thing, for that to be what's going to be in the background is insane. But like to keep it there, you got it linked there.
Yeah, I'll put it in the private chat if you want to throw it up on the screen. The LA Times article about it, but yeah, and very very upsetting story for sure.
No, this is what I was seeing. I don't even know if they show a picture of the person who did it, but yeah, they worked on set. We'll make sure that this is linked down there. Like it's actually a very freaking scary story, dude.
Yeah,
it's bad. But again, we want to make sure that, like, especially right now where she's getting this leg up and getting all these nominations and wins, that this is like the start of her career. This is where she's going to be going on to the next thing, and I hope
she deserves it. That movie is so excellent.
That movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in my top 3 from Sundance. It's been in my top half for the year, and I think it's going to remain there through it. But also a shout out to everybody else who was here. Blue Jean, I don't know if you've caught yet, but I did think that was a pretty good movie. Caught it from Chicago critics. You and I would not have been bothered with Celine Song winning it for Past Lives because she killed it with that movie. And then you and I also really respected the hell out of Raven Jackson's vision for All Dirt Road's Taste of Salt. So a really good lineup here as well. What said it was also really good. Shout out to Michelle Cervera. But
and then the acting wins. Yeah, Lily Gladstone ended up winning Best Lead Performance, but it was for Unknown Country, not for Killers of the Flower Moon. So
this was a South by pick.
Yeah,
I think
it's the year of Lily Gladstone. There's still hopefully Fancy Dance on the horizon. Although I saw that no one's picked that one up yet. I can't imagine I can't imagine it would stay without distribution much longer if she continues to pick up acting awards, though.
So I'm calling a flag in the field, Zach. Knowing already the like ins and outs of what they've been doing over here with the Gothams and who gets picked and who doesn't get picked when a movie's indie, when a movie's not. I've seen Unknown Country. She is good in it. She is equal to some performances here. But Tiana Taylor, Franz, Greta, Jeffrey, Andrew, Anjanou.
Because like I think all those names you just mentioned are like Oscar contenders, and I don't know if Lily in Unknown Country is an Oscar contender.
But
so
Lily,
like she is for Killers, right?
It's Killers. Weird. So is this like a pseudo Killers honor?
Right. It's my favorite of the performances that are not like currently in the Oscars discussion, but you're right. There's a lot of stacked performances in that category.
Yeah. I don't know, bro. Let's just go a little bit back because I'm going to leave it in the last tabs. If you want to go through the TV stuff, they had the 2 TV winners.
Yes. They did give breakthrough series of
over 40
minutes or longer to A Small Light, which was another South by pick, although I don't think either of us caught it there. Amanda might have caught it though.
I think Amanda caught a screening of it. Good. Yeah. I think that one's on Disney Plus. I know it's World War II based, so I'll be catching up on that one.
And then Beef took home breakthrough series under 40 minutes. So
stop, bro. That thing 39 minutes. How does that count?
I don't really understand.
But hey, if it wasn't for the terrible rollout and how they handled that BS after the show,
Yeah.
they would have had so much more support for it. But
Ali Wong also picked up Breakthrough
yeah, she
Actress
did.
from TV, I think. So yeah,
Yeah, let me head over
there's
there
at least some awards love for Beef
right
out there.
there.
Maybe maybe it's been long enough that people can start talking about the show again.
Maybe, yeah. Again, shout out Dominique Fishback, bro. I would have given it to her, even
Yeah.
the series as well. But I love Beef. I do not mind it winning. And yeah, I hope they fix that stuff. They keep talking about a second season, but you
Uh,
know,
we also didn't mention the best supporting performance category because this might be a perfect opportunity for us to transition to the New York Film Critics Circle.
okay.
Um, because Charles Melton won Best Supporting
Hey,
Performance, not just at the Gothams, he won it from the New York Film Critics Circle. So they were already starting to get a bit of momentum for Melton in supporting actor.
that's pretty good. Dang, all right, let me run through these right here for New York. Now, remind me how New York Film Critics Circle works.
So there's lots of different critics groups that will be continuing to give awards throughout the year. I just saw, I think it's like the Minnesota Critics Group, which is 11 people
Minnesota.
big, gave Best Picture to Oppenheimer. But
Let's go.
New York Film Critics Circle doesn't work like most critics group, and it's pretty cool because first of all, it's a lot of the elite film critics in the country, people who work for the big magazines and big newspapers. Its current chair is Matt Singer, who just put out that book about Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. If you've seen Opposable Thumbs making the rounds, really, I
Pretty
think
good.
it's a lot of it's a
Good book.
smart. It's a collection of smart people choosing this award. They actually get together. They hold a meeting and like debate these things, and people make speeches and try to advocate for certain things. So rather than just sort of sending in anonymous votes, there's like an actual debate being had about these movies. So I tried to like take this one a little more seriously than most critics groups. I feel like
Why?
they're at least trying, because the idea here is that it's like a bunch of critics hoping to sort of stick like a flag in the sand and be like, this is something that is worth paying attention to, right? Like they try to sort of
Isn't that what
help
voting is?
set the talking points for, but it's a little more intentional than voting, because like you have to come to a collective decision on it.
So non-democratic?
I mean, I think they still like take like a tally vote in the room, but people are allowed to like give stump speeches and stuff like that.
It's I do find it interesting, and I
I
value a
like
lot
it.
of the opinions from the people who are here. I just I feel like that's what the voting is already. You are
Mhm.
arguing with your vote for what it is, and like you said, I think the reason a lot of people have, because we talk about this every year when it comes to New York,
Mhm.
and it's gotten, with social media, a lot of film people themselves have commented on the idea of, are they picking, like you said, the story, the movie, the thing they want to champion behind. And I think to a lot of people that is reverse engineering the pick, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these critics in other mediums will have said that is not a route that you should go when it comes to business and board meetings or whatever else. But now this is a critics group who does do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they make an intentional choice to try and
Yeah,
put certain names forward that they think, need to be heard and need that are
right.
not necessarily getting like an appropriate level of response. And I think
It's a
it's,
little weird, right? A little weird.
I think if you want to look at it cynically, it is too. But I think that it's a group of people that obviously are like champions of the arts, and they
Mhm.
spend their professional lives like trying to advocate for the best stuff that's out there, and they have a good idea of what like the film industry has to offer. Like, yeah, sure, you can be cynical about it, but I tend to find that there is like value in being that kind of arbiter of art.
Gatekeeper.
If you want to be cynical, sure, man. But like, I think they
I don't.
also
I
do
don't
a
want to say it's cynical. I just want to say checks and balances should still be given, even with the people that we respect the most. I don't even disagree with the picks, right?
yeah.
I want to make sure you know that
It's
I
not
don't disagree with
government
the picks.
officials. It's a critics group.
It's influence.
Sure, sure. There's lots of
It's
critics groups
influence.
though.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I feel like you put the Minnesota one down because of who makes up the right.
yeah. Well, I'm saying I respect the
That's what I'm
people in this one
saying.
the most.
That's all, and that's all. I just think that there is a checks and balances to it, but I still think it's a very interesting way. You and I
Yeah,
have also done it that way, where we're like, all right, what collectively do we feel is the number one thing? What are the inner cuties like? And then, yeah, I just different approach to it. Let's run these down. Best
Sure.
film, Killers of the Flower Moon, 100%, baby.
Yeah.
And I love this too because you and I have been arguing which way does it go, and I personally would freaking love Killers Best Picture, Best Director Chris. I think
Yeah.
Chris needs the respect. I love Oppenheimer, but I think giving another director award to Marty and then giving Oppenheimer the movie isn't as impactful as Killers of the Flower Moon taking it all, and then Chris actually getting an award for Chris's work.
Yeah.
So
I like that as well. I think these are the two movies to me that kind of feel like the standout cinematic achievements of the year. And so if we can get some kind of split between them, that's great by me. And interestingly enough, this is the first time that any Christopher Nolan movie has won anything from the New York Film Critics Circle.
Wait, say that again?
The first time that any Christopher Nolan movie has won any award from the New York Film Critics Circle.
Why? Was he not good before? The consensus of the people not bring it up to that, Zach? Have they changed their minds, Zachary? I do like what Brady said. Film it, bro. I would love to see the discussions.
Yeah,
I guess that's my only thing. It's happening in the room, but we're not.
You want to be in the room where it happened.
Where it happened. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm asking for transparency. That's all I want. You give me transparency, I'm with it. I'm with it. Shout out Best Actor.
You know what? You know what their version of transparency is? They tweet the results live. And if you see that there's a big gap between the tweeting of results, you know that there was a big argument happening in the room.
Stop the count. I agree with Best Actor. You and I said this since the beginning. That was one of my biggest picks, and I freaking loved it. So I'm glad to say that if we're not a part of our own critic circle, it don't even matter because we clearly think way ahead before any speeches need to be made. Because we came out of Sundance claiming. I actually do think we did a specific thing calling out all the best actors, and I had him in one of the top performances. Franz, did they spell his name wrong? Isn't it with an N?
I think it's oh yeah, they might have spelled his name wrong. I think it is Franz Rogowski, not Franz, as the New York website has it.
New York's wrong. See how if they can't spell his name right, how can I?
Yeah, that's it. I don't respect him anymore. You're right.
I told you. Franz is fantastic. I would love to see him get a nomination all the way towards the end. Shout out that very good pick. Lily Gladstone as Best Actress
for Killers of the Flower Moon this time.
This is one where I am going to argue with you that I don't think they are picking who they agree is the best actress. I believe they are picking who they want to promote the most. You were saying that they do get together to promote somebody. I think this is that case.
I think I assume
that they're making
some decisions partially because they think like this is a statement, right? But like it's not like Lily isn't in consideration, and for me, she's like top 2,
but it's the push
actresses this year. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, I really like that performance.
I'll report things.
That's why I said top 2.
Okay, over May Decembers. I'm gonna push up your top 5.
I said top 2, top 3. I got her on that tier.
I agree with the supporting. This is really good supporting.
Charles Melton and Andre Rantoff. I think that's kind of like the intercut picks too for our favorites of the year
so far. Well, I don't know because the supportings have been pretty stacked.
Supporting is so stacked. Yep.
It's very stacked. I think I do have Charles Melton at like 5-6, and even then, I don't care if he wins because I've already told you Poor Things. I think it's incredible. Mm-hmm. I think Oppenheimer's RDJ performance is incredible. There is no reason why Killers of the Flower Moon had such an insane performance from De Niro.
Yeah.
And then Charles Melton has literally melted everybody. So I think supporting actor is going to be the craziest one because you and I love a category. We just want to see the show. I don't care who gets honored. They are all incredible. It's literally a matter of who isn't going to get the respect of a nomination. Mm-hmm. But I hope this pushes them in there. Just who are they going to kick out?
I mean, I'm hoping that it's the Willem Dafoe performance in Poor Things because I just prefer the Mark.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. Screenplay, Sammy Birch, bro. Everyone coming out supporting her, like that's fantastic. And I think you were the one who let me know that she was she's a first time writer.
Yeah, this is her first produced feature screenplay at the very least.
Insane.
Yeah. Did you also see that she's childhood best friends with Kate Berlant?
That explains
so
much.
I want to see like the table read where Kate Berlant plays Gracie and John Early plays Natalie Portman's character.
So can we go a little bit back in time to like 2 days ago when everyone was saying this movie isn't camp? And then sure. But then when as far as saying that there's no humor,
Yeah.
clearly
Okay.
there is humor.
Yeah, I think, and I also think like it is a little bit camp. It's mostly melodramatic humor,
For
but
sure.
like, and like I can understand thinking that like the material of May December is not material that we quote unquote should be making jokes about. But like, if you can't laugh at some of the like specificity of the human behavior that they're depicting, like I've never seen
Human behaviors is the key word.
I've never seen the manipulative way that Julianne Moore insults her daughter's dress is so specific and well articulated that I just like laugh in recognition of that type of behavior, not because like, oh, it's so funny when mothers emotionally taunt their daughters. Like, it's different than that.
You could tell it's about how people perceive things, because when it came to the hot dog line, that even Netflix, so corny, those guys were quick on it. They made sure to take the screenshot of the screenplay to tweet it out. People were questioning the breakdown on the hot dog line. What? Why are you admitting you don't have any human interaction? Someone had even said, why is the hot dog line necessary? It would have been better if they said, we're out of lemonade. And I'm like, the direct cut after she says we don't have enough hot dogs is an overhead shot.
So many hot dogs.
Of his grill with so many hot dogs. Like, yeah, I think people need to really be walked down on some movies. But no, 100% under script.
Best screenplay of the year. Yeah,
it is. That one's gonna be hard to beat, in my opinion. Yeah, Boy and the Heron, really good animated film. It's gonna be going up against Spider-Verse, and I think that's gonna cause a lot of talk at the Oscars. But I think an interesting one, because I can see the Spider-Verse fans being mad, but it's hard to be mad when it's a Miyazaki film.
So, and I'm seeing more and more people kind of coming out, like at least mid on Across the Spider-Verse, or with some backlash to it.
Really?
I don't know if that's just because like it's been out long enough that now people can get their alternate takes in, but I don't know.
The fans are also become so annoying.
Yeah, also so many of us though were like so blown away by that movie earlier this year.
Because it is.
Yeah, it's still my favorite animated movie by a long shot. But
I think the two things right now is a lot of people are denying how much AI was used. They admit it in the behind the scenes. It's really interesting to see when people are like really mad about AI when they're not. It's the new kind of like, oh, I feel that's AI and I feel that's a Netflix movie. They're kind of interchangeable now. It's their way to pick on things. But I also am very curious how that's, if Spider-Verse were to win over the Miyazaki movie, would that belittle Spider-Verse? Because the Miyazaki fans will then be like, wow.
Right. You
sometimes the win is worse. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be the movie that beat the other movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. Also, it's funny, because I had my gripes on the ending, the cliffhanger, and now that people are realizing a little bit more and more that the only reason there was a cliffhanger was because they overworked their animators. Why does it need to take abuse for people to realize why the critique has value?
Yeah.
Best cinematography, Oppenheimer. Anything you got that should beat it?
Trying to think right now. I mean, I really liked Oppenheimer. Is there any movie that's coming to mind to you?
Not really, bro.
I gotta think about it more, but I really like the cinematography in Poor Things as well.
I do, but I think I give production design on that end more than I give it. Give it on cinematography.
Yeah,
I'll have to think a little bit. But
I really like it's Hoyte, right?
It's Hoyte.
Yeah,
it's gonna be very hard to beat. Yeah. Best nonfiction. I don't think you've seen it yet. The Menu movie that's 3.5 hours long, talking about
I can't wait.
Michelin. I can't wait to watch that one. Best international film again. Anatomy of a Fall.
France fucked up.
Sure. And then best first film, Past Lives, for sure.
Even though I like Taste of Things.
But yeah, I don't know if there was any other ones over here to
no,
I mean,
up. I think just the main takeaways are like the Charles Melton supporting actor campaign is like super real and feels like it's going to happen. That Divine Joy Randolph feels like she's in a pretty like clear lead as far as supporting actress coming towards the Oscars. That we might be setting ourselves up for Oppenheimer versus Killers of the Flower Moon throughout this award season.
It'd be surprising if it's not, huh? Because people have been like Napoleon. They've been getting ready for these two. Imagine it be a completely different race.
You don't think there's any room for like a Poor Things or a Barbie resurgence or something like that to sneak in there?
Maybe, because I've been surprised to hear that people don't consider Barbie a blockbuster. In what world
for the biggest movie of the year? Yeah, right.
Biggest movie of the year, but yeah. Godzilla Minus One. Why not? I think it's gonna be a great award season. I think it's just a great movie year in general, regardless of the awards and wins and who gets nominated. We are curious to know, who would you pick? Who do you have up on your list? What should we be giving a rewatch to? What have we not mentioned? Zach and I are going to be going through a lot of stuff as we get our Sundance films announced. I think this week we're going to be going through those, and we're going to be going and sifting
Wednesday,
through
yeah.
all of our movies for this year as we get our Intercut Awards prepared as well. We'll be compiling our favorite performers. We'll be compiling our favorite movies, international, all that good stuff. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comments section. All right. Zach, it's the most important part of the show.
Yeah.
It's time to give a shout out to the Inner Cutie Patreons over on
Let's
patreon.com.
do it. Thank you to those wonderful Intercutie Plus patrons, the people who support our show over at patreon.com/intercutpod, where you too can become a member, like our Academy level members, Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Josh, May, Ricky, Joe, Tyler, and Benji, as well as the producer level patrons, Yuden Veer and Toon. A huge thanks to all of them for their continued support of the show. And as I mentioned, it's easy enough to head over to patreon.com/intercutpod to become a patron yourself and sign up for all sorts of patron benefits. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get access to early editions of certain episodes. Patrons got an early look at our May-December review. They also currently can check out my interview with Luke Lorenzen, the director of my favorite documentary of the year, A Still Small Voice. We're going to make that one public only later this week, so get a jump by going over to patreon.com/intercutpod. You can also be a part of our monthly patron Google meetings, which are always fun, a cool chance to hang out and talk movies with all of y'all. So if you want to ask us any questions about movies, or if you just want to like hear some behind the scenes goss from Art and I, just become a member. Patreon.com/intercutpod.
Yes,
oh,
sir.
And even if you don't want to pay, it's cool to head over to the website and just follow us for free.
And put your mom's card.
You won't get access to the patron exclusive benefits, but I've been trying to do weekly or bi-weekly posts that sort of talk about the movies that we're going to be talking about. So if you want a bit of a heads up on what's getting reviewed and what movies we're covering on Weekend Must Watch, the best way to do that is become a follower of the Patreon, even if it's just for free. Shout out Patron Gang.
Disciple. Beautiful. I'm excited for it. We got some good stuff on the horizon, a lot of good stuff dealing with best of the year. Definitely check out Zach's interview, because I think that's still going to top our best documentary of the year easily. And then
on the list for sure.
I always feel that the two best hangouts that we have end up being at the end of the year, when everybody gets to recap everything that they watch. We start arguing and discussing what should be on the top list. And then the mid-year one too, because of the same reasons that we're compiling everything from the mid-year so far. So I'm excited to break all that down. But now let's break up what's coming up in movie theaters. All of our coming attractions. It's going to be a slow week. I think this is the slowest week. If I look at my yellow notepad over here, like an old man that I am, I believe this is the slowest week before we get bangers on the 15th. Everything that's coming out for Christmas on the 22nd. And 29th is kind of slow, but I mean, there's going to be so many movies coming out. This is
catch up time.
It's a slow week, but still a good week. All right. We have the theatrical re-release of The Abyss. It's James Cameron's movie where he went into, you got it, The Abyss, and it's supposed to be like restored. I don't know if you've caught the original.
No, I haven't. So it's a good opportunity. I mean, I've been trying to take advantage more of these like re-releases to see some films that I never saw on the big screen. So, you know, maybe this is going to be my opportunity to finally watch another James Cameron classic.
So I know they're releasing a like restored 4K with that as well, and this is a movie that took him really seriously. That he took really seriously, and is like a big inspiration to what he ended up doing with The Way of Water. So it's like this is a core movie for the Cameron fans out there. One that I'm excited for, and we kept getting denied, and now it's like a Fathom event, which is so annoying because it's just gonna end up at home or on Netflix or streaming. But I am excited because I got to see this one on Broadway, not with Sarah Bareilles, but still with some really good performers. Waitress the musical, which I believe is just the musical. It's like, it's not a making of it, but it's like the recording. They're Hamilton. Right?
It's just like the Hamilton thing, exactly, where they live record the stage version of it.
I'm excited to see it because I never saw the Sarah Bareilles version. but I
Yeah.
have heard some people say that they actually prefer other people singing it. I think there's someone right
Oh.
now who's doing it who's really good. But did you ever get to catch this one on Broadway?
No, I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and
It's
like
cute,
it's
dude. It's
interesting too
cute.
because like Sarah Bareilles, I like her a lot. She's really, really good on Girls Five Eva on Peacock. I think
That's
it's coming
right.
to Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's not. She comes from singer-songwriter stuff. She
Yeah.
doesn't come from like the Broadway world, so it's an interesting kind of pivot for her. I'm
Mhm.
definitely curious to see what she brings to the role because it's a movie that's gotten or a musical that's gotten pretty good reviews, and as you bring up, it's based on the
I always
movie that
forget,
starred Kerry Russell, rather.
right? Like it was a movie turned Broadway turned movie again. So it's always
Mhm.
interesting. The new pipeline that Broadway's got going on. One that Zach's really excited to revisit is Eileen, that premiered at Sundance. It stars Thomas and Mackenzie, who we really like, so it was really high on our radar, and Anne Hathaway. And look, I'm willing to give this one a rewatch because I feel like I had a lucid dream about what happens in the second act. There are two movies out of Sundance, Cat Person and Eileen, that just decided to like screw everything that you thought about the movie and go bonkers in the second half. So for that, I didn't give it a negative review, but it definitely was. It didn't live up to the hype that I had for it. This was one of my
Didn't
most
stick to the
anticipated
landing.
ones. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch it again, not being bombarded by a bunch of screenings and see how that plays out. But Eileen will be out in. Wait, what the heck? Is it on Unlimited? Is it out on VOD? Oh, it's one of those 24.99 ones. Yeah, I would not put that high.
PVOD.
Oh, okay. But Eileen is out there. You know
Yeah.
what? Funny one. I got to show you this one, bro. Speaking of, since I just brought it up, do you remember how hard it was to get tickets for this at Sundance?
Oh yeah, Cat Person was like the hot item. I think a lot of people went into last year's Sundance thinking like, is this going to be the movie that sells for $20 million? Now all you need is a library card.
It's on Hoopla for free before it's even available to purchase. The Spectrum thing
Yikes.
isn't even a real deal. Before it's available on VOD, Zach.
I'm glad I just went to the library and picked up my card. I can watch it tonight.
Ridiculous. And that's what
Yeah.
happens. I have a line that I've been liking. A lot of these people think they're going to end up on Mubi. They end up on Tubi, bro. The next movie that we have is Poor Things. I don't get this one until next week, but we've both had a chance to catch this baby, and it
Yes.
is beautiful. I absolutely love it. Some people have been saying doesn't live up to the hype. Those people have no taste. Poor Things is one of the best of Yorgos Lanthimos releases. Um, I think it is, as Zach put when we reviewed it, it is his most accessible, his most mainstream, and I think that that's going to get a lot of people to jump on his bandwagon because some of his other stuff is pretty bleak, and
Yeah.
this kills it. It is my favorite performance for an actress this year. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to rewatch this one again.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
still think like just Emma Stone is doing so many incredible things. Like she shows such a range of abilities in this performance. If you are a fan of hers, it's only going to be deepened by seeing her in this, and
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible. I actually just finished reading the book, and it's got a lot of the
What?
humor. Yeah, it's got a
Really?
lot of a lot of the same humor, but I think they kind
Oh
of
snap.
streamline the story in a pretty interesting way. But I would
Oh,
definitely recommend spending more time in the world if you enjoy Poor Things. The book definitely like feels of a piece. There's a lot of lines that are lifted directly from Alistair Gray's novel.
that's exactly what I expected to do too.
With that name too, yeah.
Easily. Dang. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. I'm excited for this one. And what a year. I know she took a year and a half off after like the Cruella stuff. I mean, I
Right.
believe she had a baby to come back swinging with this and the curse. And
Mm.
even if you put all those aside, I know she's got the short film as well, but like just the rollouts, the publicity stuff she's been doing,
Yeah.
that's entertaining in and of itself. Beautiful stuff. Um,
You've been
I'm
watching The
sorry.
Curse, by the way?
Yes. It's so good. I think
It's
I'm
so
caught up with 3.
uncomfortable.
I got 4 that I'm missing right now. It is
I
I I think it's the best thing that he's done.
Oh man. Okay, we're probably gonna have to in
I think it's the
January
best
once
thing
the
that
whole
he's done.
thing wraps up.
I
We're
think it's
gonna
the
have to
best thing that
talk
he's
about
done.
it.
It's good.
Episode 5. So you got to episode 5 because that might be
No,
like
I'm at
the
episode
highlight
4.
of the show. Oh,
Oh,
okay,
well then
good.
at this point, then it's the best thing he's ever done, bro.
Okay. She's really great on episode 5. I'll just give you that heads up.
Him and her are mopping that show, bro. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
Leave the World Behind. This is coming out on Netflix, but before it's getting a little bit of a theatrical release.
Yeah. I think it might be in limited now. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
It's
I think
not
it's unlimited
Netflix
now.
limited where it's real. It's like, two iPick theaters and a random art house thing.
They get very picky on who they give screeners for,
Yeah.
and then it just sits on the Netflix catalog with a bunch of actors forever. But it's Sam Esmail.
The
We
boy.
adore Sam Esmail. This cast is stacked. I have no idea
Stacked.
what this movie's about, but it's got Mahershala, Ethan Hawke, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon. I'm excited for it. It'll be out this weekend. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's a collection of talent that I'm really excited by. And apparently the book that it's based on is quite compelling. That's
it
another
did feel
one
like a
that,
book one. Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna download the audiobook and listen to it on my trip back from Florida. So I'll have that to compare it to on next week's show, hopefully.
makes sense. Then Rangy Grace, I got to see the link that we were sent for press,
Nice.
and did you get to?
Not yet, but I'll have it for next week.
Decent.
Cool. Yeah, this was one that we missed over at
It's
South
decent.
by, I think it premiered at.
Decent.
What's like the vibe here? Because it kind of feels like, revenge thriller action from its title, but like some of the vibe also feels a little bit more self-serious than that.
Yeah, it's about this maid who it's her and her daughter, and they're the only ones who are trying to just make it by. She's trying to work for a visa, so she ends up working for a lot of rich people and ends up at this really big house that's going to give her enough to be able to get that visa. But she sneaks in her child to live in that house with her. But that house is owned by a guy who's kind of comatose. He's the one running things, and the niece is kind of overseeing it all. But then there's secrets there, and some secrets that, with her being Filipina, even are combined with her own, not necessarily ancestry, but other Filipinos who they also use within this household.
Mm.
I also feel like the reason it won the awards at South by was because there weren't Filipinos there. It is a good Filipino movie, but it feels like the movie was made for people who had Filipino mates. I'm going to leave it at that.
All right.
Picks for the week. I'm going to start off with The Boy and the Heron, which is getting a limited release in multiple places. And I'm excited to revisit this one because we got to see it with the original voice cast. It was subbed when we saw it in Toronto, but we saw it at 8 o'clock in the morning. It was super early. Now that we've had some time to sit with it, I am very excited to go visit this movie with the dubbing. I know it's subs over dubs all the time, but Studio Ghibli does not play when it comes to this voice acting. And if I'm not mistaken, what's his name? Christian
Robert
Bale.
Pattinson.
And yeah, but Christian Bale has done multiple voice performances.
Oh yeah,
right. And I think that they don't mess around when it comes to getting a brand new cast for it. So
totally.
I believe that the versions that they're going to have near me are going to have that new voice cast. I'm excited to revisit it. It's in my top half of Miyazaki, but it wasn't in my like top 5. So maybe this will change when I revisit it again, because all of his movies always have that very fable-like storytelling. And I'm excited for you to catch it because we are looking to maybe make a Miyazaki bracket. So that's a lot of work, but we might have that on the horizon. So that's my pick.
Definitely. I'm very excited to catch up with Boy and the Heron. I was telling you before we started, I've had like so many close calls where I almost got the chance to see it, but didn't. I feel so
Just hype it
teased
up for
at
you.
this point, but I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's going to be really good. This next one I have to talk about is it is killing it, bro. I saw the first season. I saw part of the second season. I've been sleeping on seasons, what is it, 3 and 4?
Yeah,
I am
3 and
watching it
4.
on a weekly basis when it comes to Fargo. We are on Hulu refreshing, trying to figure out when the next episode is going to be. And for me, I'm one who collects it. So when I'm watching on a week-to-week basis, that tells you how good it is. They are knocking it out of the park. Fargo has been an anthology series over on Hulu, FX Hulu.
FX Hulu transitioned.
The performances here are incredible. You pretty much have a young lady played by Juno Temple.
Incredible accent work always.
Shout out the girl, bro. She is killing it with someone who has a lot of secrets, that she's married into this very rich family. And then it turns out somebody from her past is looking for her, played by John Hamm, who is also killing it. And it's just cat and mouse chase that's happening. I love it. I love it. I love it. It is incredible. Catch it. I am like, we're watching Fargo, and when we're waiting for the next episode, we're like, what could we watch? As if our dumb selves don't realize that there's 4 seasons of Fargo.
Yeah, dude, I did the same thing as you, even though I've actually never sat down and watched a full season of any episodes of Fargo. Rather, I just went straight to the season. I'm tired of waiting to do the whole binge, and I'm delighted that I did, because those 2 episodes are really really like excellent
Fantastic.
suspense filmmaking. They feel
Oh,
like a throwback to that Coen style. What I think is interesting is that, like, I know enough about what Fargo has done in previous seasons that Noah Hawley, he's found all these different entry points into sort of revisiting that tone. But this one feels like it's going way back to the beginning, in that it's like it's the Fargo setup
yeah.
of like kidnapping gone wrong and the fallout from all that. So back to basics, but in a excellent way. Like you said, Jonah Temple, John Hamm, I'm here for it.
How many times can they do it? It's good. It's the
Yeah.
series that keeps on giving. And our last one that's going to double up for both of our picks of the week. Two thumbs straight up for May December. It is now on Netflix. Hopefully, you have a good enough screen to watch it. But it's that script that really just stands out. Performances that I think are the top of the year. May December all the way. You already know what it is. We have a whole video. It's incredible. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad that it got a really good reception from like just mainstream audiences. We
Totally.
expected it from the critics,
Yeah.
but like people are vibing with this movie.
And there's
Vibing
always
may be a
going to
bad word,
be,
but it's understanding the tone that it's going
yeah,
for.
there's always going to be a crowd of people who, because it's on Netflix and it's so easily accessible, just kind of don't get what the movie is doing. And there are those people out there, but there are so many people who are understanding the nuances of it and are really appreciating just the many layers to the movie, all the subtle details of it, the performances, which are all so excellent. And
Knockouts.
we really focused on of course, Julianne and Natalie, and then Charles in our review. But I do want to give an extra shout out to the three actors that play their kids in the movie, because I think they're doing such an incredible job of sort of
The
showing
aftermath,
that
yeah.
they like love their dad, but there's this weird like pity for him at the same time, and
Yeah.
navigating all that, navigating the scenes with Julianne Moore. Like they're pitch perfect, and they're communicating so much of their feelings just through their body language and how they speak, not through the lines themselves. It is an immaculately crafted and acted film that only rewards a rewatch. And I think I also, as being as vague about it as possible, I think I disagree with you about whether or not Gracie is lying at the end.
You think after all the lies that she did, that's not gonna be another one?
I don't think so. I think in that moment that no, I mean, I actually do. I think she is lying at the end, but I think you.
Yeah, then we agree.
I thought you said. I thought you said that. Oh, I think you were saying that Georgie was wrong, but I'm saying he was right.
Okay. Part 2, May December part 2 discussion coming soon. I think it gets her off the hook a little bit, in my opinion. I think that's all a part of her plan.
And I think that she wanted to not be
Cast out?
known. I think part of her agenda is not being able to be explained.
To control her story.
Yes.
She's the boss.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, that's fair. That's what makes a fantastic, incredible, perfectly written movie with incredible performances. We're going to be talking about this all the way through the end of next year. I mean, look at this rating right here. Look at this rating right here. May, December. All right, Zach, take it away with your 3.
All right, my 3 picks for the week are starting with The Sweet East. This is a movie that debuted back at Cannes. I caught it at the New York Film Festival, and it is a sprawling picture of the American underbelly as Talia Ryder makes her way through all sorts of ups and downs as she flirts from different scenario and world and whatever. It's a really interesting movie because it gets at all these different aspects to like what it's like to kind of be this woman that that generates this kind of like attention from the outside world. And in some ways there's a lot of similarities to how Sofia Coppola depicts the women in her movies, but I think there's just
That's how that look.
It's got an indie energy to this one that to me, like I described it as feeling like a Lana Del Rey song, because there's this like, it's like the fun, glamorous lifestyle of not being fun or glamorous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really dug a
makes
lot
sense.
about this movie. I can't wait to see it again, because it's another one that I could see like popping up further on my best of the year list. To me, this is like a classic underrated gem. Like, make sure you go out of your way to catch it. It's in limited release right now. I anticipate it's probably going to be on VOD before the end of the year. Keep it on your radar. Sweet East.
popped out of my AMC yet, but I still don't have it near me, so I'm excited for that one.
Got to come to New York, buddy. Origin, speaking of limited release, is going to be in limited theaters on Friday, December 8th. It's the latest film from Ava DuVernay, which attempts to adapt Isabella Wilkerson's book about caste systems, which is a nonfiction look at the history of oppression in the world. Not exactly the kind of thing that you would think makes for a cinematic story. I thought it was incredibly cinematic. I was really moved by her journey, the investigative elements of this movie. There's a painterly quality to how it depicts it as well. Some really incredible shots. I know there's a lot of people who are reacting to this movie like they've just been assigned homework, that like their
I don't
teacher
get that.
rolled a TV into the classroom. I don't get it
Then
at
they
all.
then they like Oppenheimer.
Right. Like this means every bit as cinematic as Oppenheimer, and I'll still say Oppenheimer
And
is
Killers
the
of the
movie
Flower
that
Moon.
I preferred. But yeah, I thought this was like a
Yeah.
incredibly moving piece of cinema, and I'm a bit disheartened by the way that it's been dismissed by certain people. So
I think it's the content.
Yeah, I mean,
It is the content.
It is the content, and I think a lot of people just sort of don't want to go there with the movie. But you know, I hope people will give it a chance. I hope Intercuties will give it a chance, because you and I both thought this was a pretty incredible film.
I also really like how it's told. I do think other movies are doing it and they're giving that a pass. So when they say that it's the way that it's being told, I don't believe it. But I do think that this approach, the same way that these other movies that we mentioned, Oppenheimer being based off of the Prometheus book, Killers of the Flower Moon being an FBI investigation, then turning itself into the not so love story that it is. Origin is also a peak example of how to take a nonfiction book and adapt it into something. And years down the line, when people are used to it, they're going to come back to it and see how normal it was, that it was just a peak of how a lot of artists are going to be taking nonfiction books and being able to make dramatic narratives with it, while still keeping that, like, I don't want to say educational quality to it, but as I told you, one of my favorite parts of the movie is how she learns in the process of it. I thought it was beautiful. So, but the content is, I mean, there's even a scene where they say, hey, don't argue with certain people in this way. They're not going to take you seriously. And then she's like, but no, I'm going to show you how it does lead to that. Yeah, I can also understand why people are just going to be like, no, it's kind of stated in the movie. But those are Ava DuVernay movies, and that's always been the case out there. I mean, she did get backlash for When They See Us. She's gotten backlash for Selma. Movies that I think and series that have all aged very well.
Yep.
Other than A Wrinkle in Time, which I didn't care for too much. That's the only wrinkle there. I think she's back swinging at it in Origin beautifully. So I agree. Very good pick.
Totally.
Speaking of,
and my last pick for the week, speaking of Killers of the Flower Moon. Have we talked about it enough yet? Because
No.
It's another recommendation for the latest from Scorsese. This one is going to pop up on VOD tomorrow, December 5th. So if you can't imagine sitting for 3.5 hours in a movie theater, rest assured you don't have to. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Interestingly enough, not going to be on Apple TV Plus tomorrow. It will probably, I'm assuming, make its way to the streamer by like Christmas, something like that. But Apple is trying to maximize the amount of money they make back from this $200 million movie. They had it play in theaters for several weeks, and now they're going to get that sweet VOD cash as well.
I think it showcases how good the movie is. And I have been shouting out Apple for the way that they promoted it. All these Netflix movies we bring up get 1 week and then they're on Netflix. That's shooting yourself in the foot. The fact that they've kept it ambiguous has allowed the movie to be seen in theaters, to do decent enough numbers for a Scorsese flick. And then now it being on VOD gives it the chance to grow a little bit more before it then gets the Apple pickup. Shout out to Apple for the way they've been rolling it out. They don't do all their movies like that. They killed it with this release. I think that's where The Irishman failed on Netflix's end. And they did a much better job. Shout out to the Apple team for that.
I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but this is easily one of the movies of the year. I'm working on a video for my own channel about it now. So if you haven't had the chance to watch it yet, like now is going to be a much easier to access time for it. I know my parents, who are not big movie theater people, have been waiting for this to sink their teeth into it. So
same with my mom,
yeah. So I'm going to revisit it probably in the upcoming days. So great one. So yeah. Those are my picks for the week. The best stuff to see in theaters and at home this weekend.
So again, running it back through, I got The Boy and the Heron. If you have the chance to see it subbed or dubbed, this is that one movie that is going to be great regardless of, and some beautiful animation coming from Miyazaki, unretiring and retiring and unretiring again. Fargo over on Hulu FX has a new anthology series that is just killing it. If you can't wait episode for episode, secret. They got 4 other seasons and they're all just as good. And then May December, which is just one of the best movies of the year and has already been picking up awards.
Absolutely. My picks for the week are The Sweet East, which is in a limited theatrical release, but feels like watching a Lana Del Rey song in all its glamour and grittiness. I also really liked Origin, which will soon be a limited release, the latest film from Ava DuVernay, an epic looking at the history of castes in the world. So ambitious and incredible. But another ambitious, incredible film looking at the sins of our past is the Martin Scorsese movie Killers of the Flower Moon, which will be on VOD very shortly. If you can't see it in theaters, then give it a rental at home.
Easily, for sure. We also have a whole video for Killers that's out. We did a whole live stream discussing stuff. I thought we got some pretty interesting comments out of that one as well. And then I also have an LME there. A lot of the things that people argue with me on the LME.
A good LME too. That was a really good LME.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
We were really proud of it. A lot of the things that people hated us for, Thelma, the writer, and Scorsese have come out and said, actually, it's this. And I'm like, y'all really needed that. Why is it always the people who say media literacy are always the most media illiterate? Gosh, bro. My goodness. But the video's aged like fine wine. I'm looking forward to yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, those movies. We've had 2 weeks to jam pack into one. Bro,
extra long weekend must watch.
Yeah, my headphones died halfway through, but look, I got back up to 100%.
There we go.
I guess I could just plug in. Turns out I've never had to switch out the headphones. So yeah, we are good to go there. Let's go another 2 hours, Zach. I'm ready to go now. I can move around.
I'm ready.
But that is all for this week's show. You can find more from me at LME Movies on all social medias, Letterboxd, Twitter, X, all that good stuff, or at Let Me Explain on YouTube.com. Zach, where can people find more from you?
You can find more from me at Zshevich, Zshevich, or you can find more of my videos at Multiplex Show on on YouTube, on TikTok, or on Instagram. I got some videos. But mainly just keep it locked in here on Intercut.
Beautiful. A reminder that you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, all that good stuff. Zach was sending me all of the top hits that we got.
Spotify Wraps. Yeah, we should say thank you to all of you who put us on your Spotify Wrapped. Shout out to Toon, who listened to us like more than I listened to us. But yeah, it's so like heartening and encouraging to see us show up in like top 1, top 5, top 10s on your list or whatever. When we do this to hopefully share our love of movies, and hopefully a lot of you enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I know sometimes you show me like TikToks and stuff of people who like watch, and I feel
shout out Jeremiah.
We become that sort of like your favorite critics' favorite podcast, your favorite YouTube critics at least. We know they're watching. They see the hookup of what it is. We're doing all that busy work right there. We do the sifting for them. They just got to listen in for an hour. They know what to get. So we've kind of become that like background thing, but at the same time, like Zach said, we do it because we love all these movies, and a big shout out to all the Spotify listeners. One thing that I would want to ask the Inner Cuties is what videos you're most interested, because it's cool to see the stats, but I also want to see vocally, what is it that you guys tune in for the most? Because what stood out a lot is obviously when we have guests, but also a lot of the festival previews, which we're going to be working on with Sundance coming out. We saw a lot of people really stuck around for that. Obviously our best of list. So let us know your favorite videos, because that's always something that we're curious about in terms of our relationship with the Inner Cuties and what you're looking forward to on the channel.
Yeah, definitely encourages us to make more of that type of content in the future if you tell us you like it.
Again, you can catch the live video here on youtube.com where we go through the Weekend Must Watch every Monday. Big shout out to all the Inner Cuties who listen live, all the patrons, all the iTunes listeners who leave us that 5-star review. We really appreciate that. Don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow the socials over at Intercut Pod. And until next time, keep watching movies. Subscribe to Intercut Clips over at youtube.com. And we'll see y'all later. Take care.
Peace.